We explore the universe through a vision of innovation.
We advance towards new possibilities for redefining tomorrow.
Flag off for the bus flag off. Yeah. Bus flag. Okay. At the end of that, when sir will go to room, okay. Then
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Vellore Institute of Technology, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the India Research Tour organized by the Springer Nature with the Indian Council of Social Science Research. This exciting initiative is designed to foster collaboration, exchange ideas, and strengthen our community of researchers and scholars. Let us begin this event with invocation. Request all of you to rise for the same.
நீராறும் கடலொடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ் பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதிசிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிலமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you all. The lamp symbolizes knowledge, wisdom, and enlightenment. It is a beacon of hope that dispels darkness and ignorance. Cordially invite the distinguished guest on the dais to come forward and jointly light the lamp.
Thank you all. I would now like to request all dignitaries to go outside for the flagging off of the bus.
At the end of the
End of the event? All right.
Thank you. So now I kindly call upon Dr. P. Arulmozhivarman, Dean Academic Research, to deliver the welcome address.
Very good morning to all. I extend a warm welcome to everyone present here at the Springer Nature India Research Tour function at our VIT University. We are happy to take part in hosting the India Research Tour 2024, organized by the Springer Nature in collaboration with the Indian Council of Social Science Research, Ministry of Education, on 15th October 2024 at VIT Vellore. We believe that it is a strategic initiative aimed in strengthening the country's research landscape by nurturing their talent, democratizing, fostering the conversations around the accessibility, and promoting the United Nations SDGs, which is aligned with our VIT transformative process. The India Research Tour 2024 is a unique and promising the initiative organized by the Springer Nature in collaboration with the Indian Council of Social Science and Research. This is mainly to bringing together to the diverse range of the key stakeholders, the experts, and the leaders to engage in meaningful discussion and collaborate on fostering the advancement of their research in the higher education in our nation. The ultimate goal is to leverage the power of the research to contribute positively and the holistic growth and the progress of India. With the objectives in the mind, the India Research Tour seeks to create the platform where the ideas are exchanged, partnership are forged, and the actionable plans are developed. It is a unique space for the researchers to learn in depth about the publishing opportunities, to know about the new ways of the disseminating the work on the global platforms, educate themselves the new trends and the research publishing, and they harness the full potential of the research and the betterment of the nation. The very presence of the Honorable Chancellor in this program, in spite of his extremely busy schedule, inspiring us and gracious presence for the occasion. We welcome on behalf of the entire level of the Office of Academic Research and the student community and the faculty community, along with the Springer Nature. We welcome you, sir. We request all the research scholars to give the round of applause to the Honorable Chancellor, who have been working for the university with the great commitment and untiring effort for the past 40 years. Most importantly, the only institution has given the full stipend during the COVID period, even though the scholars not in the campus. And also the Honorable Chancellor approved the enhanced fellowship from January 2025 to all the research scholars. On behalf of the entire fraternity of the VIT researcher, we welcome the Vice President, Sri Shankar Vishwanathan sir, Dr. Shankar Vishwanathan sir. I feel proud to be part of such an elite institution where we thought such a great teachers whose teaching goes beyond the classrooms. We welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. V.S. Kanchana Bhaskaran, respected Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Parsarji Malik, respected Registrar, Dr. T. Jayabharati. Also, we welcome all the deans, directors, associate deans for the Springer Nature India Research Tour, and the faculty colleagues and the research scholars. On this special occasion, I welcome Sri Venkatesh Sarvasiti, was the Managing Director of the Springer Nature India. He has 2 decades of the experience across the private and the public sectors in India. He brings wealth of knowledge to his role. As the Managing Director, he chairs the Board of Directors and leading the Springer Nature external facing strategy in India, supporting the growth of the research business. Especially significant given in evolving the landscape of the scientific content and policies in India, including the discussion around the open access models, science, technology, and the innovation policy. Also, we welcome Professor Vibhuti Bhushan Moganti, the Senior Council Member, ICSSR, Indian Council for the Social Science Research, for his kind presence and accepted to give the keynote address. We appreciate the Springer Nature team, both the global as well as the India team. Mr. George Inglis, the Senior Editor, Nature Portfolio, Springer Nature, New York. Ms. Riya Datra, Manager, Outreach Advocacy, Springer Nature. Mr. Parak Budak, the Executive Publisher, Springer Nature. Mr. M. Ramanathan, the Assistant General Manager, Strategy and the Outreach, and the entire level of the Springer Nature team. As part of the program, we are having a panel discussion on the transformative agreement, redefining the research publishing, the impact of the transformative agreement on access and the equity. And also the top 5 women researchers from the VIT will be recognized by the Springer Nature. Once again, I welcome all of you for this the wonderful occasion of the Springer Nature India Research Tour. It is going to be a fruitful and the meaningful level of the thing. Thank you for each and every one of you being present here today. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome note and briefing the event. Vellore Institute of Technology has emerged as a leading research institution in India, consistently producing high-quality research output across a wide range of disciplines. The institute maintains its relevance to world-class research by linking with industry and business through local and international research networks. In this regard, cordially invite our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Parthasarathi Malik, to provide an overview of VIT's research activities, highlighting the key achievements and collaborations.
Thank you. Our Honorable Chancellor and the founder of this institution, our respected Vice President, respected Vice Chancellor, our honorable guests from Springer Nature, Managing Director Sri Venkatesh. This is his 3rd time visit in VIT Vellore. And I also visited their Delhi office last year. And other dignitaries from the Springer Nature, very respected Professor Vibhuti Bhushan Mohanty, the council member of ICSR, and Dean of our academic research, Professor Ulmuj Varman, and the team of academic research, deans and directors, my dear faculty, my colleagues, and the research scholars. Very good morning. It's my great pleasure to be here. In fact, recently I spoke in Elsevier meeting, and today Springer Nature, both Springer Nature and Elsevier, they are the top-rated publishers in the world. And one thing I would emphasize there, that quality and quantity. Ideally, an institution should maintain both. If you see that successful institutions in other part of the world, in US, Purdue University, they have about 40 to 45,000 students. UC Berkeley, they have 40 to 45,000 students. They are doing extremely well in teaching, research, both. So this, and quality and quantity, if we maintain, then it is easier for us to make a presence across the globe. In fact, the challenge to maintain the quality and quantity is need to be highly ethical in research. And resource and hard work will give the solution to maintain the quality with quantity. On the other side, I'd like to mention very clearly that publishing 1 or 2 paper not ensure that we are maintaining quality, and publishing, those who are publishing more than 5 papers, they are also ensuring the quality. So the end point is that the people who are getting success in research, maintaining quantity and quality, they should not be demoralized. And they are doing the great work. And of course, people who are not getting success, just either publishing 1 paper in a year or no paper, they need to work hard, try their level best to improve and increase the quality and quantity both in research. It's extremely important, and especially ranking. The institution who is maintaining quality and quantity both, they are doing good. So it's a key parameter for rankings, and BIT is doing good in all rankings. One fundamental reason is our quality and quantity we are maintaining in our research. Thanks to all our students, scholars, and the faculty colleagues for their hard work. We are doing it, of course, the vision of our management. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
So thank you, sir, for insisting on Q&Q for the research. Now I humbly request our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Channa Bhaskaran, to provide more information on research outputs and activities.
Good morning, all. Honorable Chancellor, sir, respected Vice President, Pro Vice Chancellor, Dean Academic Research, and Assistant Dean, on the dais, all the dignitaries. On the dais, Sri Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, Managing Director of Springer Nature India, Professor Vibhuti Bhushan Mohanty, Council Member, Indian Council for Social Research, Council Member, and all the dignitaries who have come from Springer Nature, and our university deans, directors, faculty members, and our research scholars who have assembled here for this Springer Nature's National Bus Tour, and we have got them here for the second year. It's glad to note that. And this event is actually to kindle the feeling of innovation, research, ideation, technology development in the university. VIT normally it focuses on the basic or fundamental research, applied research, and we have researchers who, with their curiosity to go for uncharted territories, exploration in such territories in pursuit of the fact or the truth behind what is there, and applied research through our other engineering schools and the technological development, and for bridging the divide between what we do on the paper using simulations and to create the technology for application into the industry for the societal benefit. So that divide through translational research we attempt, and we go for making it very fruitful through interdisciplinary collaboration across the schools, across the research centers, and across universities also, nationally and internationally collaborations are happening. And this actually will lead to the landscape of technology commercialization also. And at VIT, we have a great IPR policy, intellectual property rights policy, and the necessary support and the propulsion for taking it on is also given continuously. We have officers for directing their complete energy for guiding the scholars and students, faculty and all towards that. And as a university, we actually now go for the technology development to connect with industries, to bring the problems from industry for doing research here, and to treat that as the research scholar's problem, and to create the thesis which will be an answer to the industry's solutions. So this is the direction, these are the directions what we have got, and given the impact what is given by the government also, for example, through ISRO, we have started commercializing the space technology what we have. And because of that, not only the country is benefiting, ISROs, whoever be the subsidiary companies are, they also are having their manufacturing capabilities rising. So this helps in the manufacturing, what our Chancellor always used to say, in China they manufacture so much, But in India, we have got to bring that sort of a fervor. And that is happening, and that is starting to happen. And in that direction, VIT, with all the research facilities what we have here, the multidisciplinary research centers what we have here, and through the faculty members and scholars who work for 24/7, we are actually set to create history, and by that way, India would be guided by VIT's outcomes, and India would lead the whole world also. I wanted to tell you one thing also. As per Niti Aayog 2024 report, the private universities, even compared to the central and state government universities, we are surpassing in all the cadres like technology commercialization, transfers, copyrights and designs, our private universities, which includes deemed to be universities, we outpower them. Innovation prototypes supported, we do better than them, and we have even higher levels of engagement with the industries also, and the intellectual property creation and all, and the technology transfer, they are all starting to happen in private universities, even more than what we have. And that is primarily due to the research infrastructure what we have at VIT. And therefore, given all these factors, I would request each and every one of our scholars and faculty members to concentrate on ethical research and useful research for society. Useful research in the sense that whatever be the problems which you have in the society, try to solve them and promote the well-being of the general society, general human beings. Fields like healthcare, environmental sustainability, education, technology, all these are the directions in which we would go. Health and medicine, and yes, towards SDG goals also we are all to be working and have a great research ambience here. Cherish the research ambience what we have here. Do great research, do ethical research, do well. Best of luck to all of the research scholars here, and I thank the Springer Nature team who have come here on the national bus tour. I wish them a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for giving the VIT research insights in various verticals. Request our Chancellor and Founder Dr. G. Vishwanathan, sir, to honor Professor Vibhuti Bhushan Mohanty, Council Member, Indian Council of Social Science Research. Thank you, sir. Request our Chancellor and Founder Dr. G. Vishwanathan, sir, to honor Shri Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, Managing Director, Springer Nature, India. Thank you, sir. He has established the Universal Higher Education Trust to create opportunities for higher education to every deserving students in the region. His farsightedness extends beyond the horizons. He is an institution by himself. He was awarded the honorary doctorate for his contributions to international higher education by the Binghamton University in the year 2024. A visionary leader who plays a key role in the growth and the development of India and apparently leads VIT into one of the premier universities in the world. A true inspiration to all, a man of vision, determination and compassion. I cordially invite our beloved founder and the Chancellor, Dr. G. Vishwanathan, to deliver the presidential address.
Good morning, Professor B.B. Mohanty from ICSSR, Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, Managing Director of the Springer Nature India, other senior officers from Springer Nature, respected Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Vice President Mr. Shankar Viswanathan, Dr. Arulmozhi Varman, Dean Academic Research, other professors, and my dear research students, very good morning to you. I am happy that Springer Nature, which is there throughout the world, I understand they are more than present in 180 countries. They have come to us and to going to meet us and discuss with our professors and research students. Research is an important activity for any developing country. And we would like to become an advanced country. And without higher education, research, publications, and patents, we may not be able to compete with the advanced countries. So it's a very important thing that Springer Nature is a publisher for throughout the world. And of course, we are also making use of them. I hope their association with VIT will be very useful to our professors and students, particularly those who want to publish. Yesterday, I saw a news in Coimbatore that a student who got his PhD degree handed over a memorandum to the governor. I don't know how many of you have gone through that? Good. At least some of you read newspaper. And he has mentioned what are the problems the research student face in Bharatiyar University. Of course, government universities have their own problems. I was part of the government. I was there in parliament, in the assembly, cabinet, etc. I know both sides. But I don't want any of these problems in VIT. We should be free from all the problems which has mentioned in the petition to the governor. And we want to take care of the research students because you are mainly responsible, of course, along with the professors. In publications, we are one among the, of course, in the number of publications, we have been leading the country for the last 6-7 years. Only Indian Institute of Science was above us. Now we have overtaken them also. But still, we have to go a long way in patents because ultimately patents is what decides the importance of a country. And we have to compete. As a country, we have to compete with 2 other countries where they are our close competitors, China and US. But those countries attach much importance to research and they allocate more funding. That's where we are lagging behind. And I hope government understands the problem because to give you an exact figure, in 2020, we got 23,000 patents we were granted, whereas US got 3.5 lakh patents and China got 5.3 lakh patents. I was wondering why like this. We are a big nation. In fact, now we are the largest nation in the world in population. But the patents filed itself is very low for us. We filed only 53,000 patents, whereas 6 lakh patents were filed in US and 14 lakh patents were filed in China. So they got 5.3 lakh patents. So it means that we have to work hard. And also, we must get the financial support, both from the union government as well as the state government, where I have been trying to persuade the governments for last so many years to spend more on education. It is not possible because 50, 60 years ago, when Kothari Commission was appointed by Pandit Nehru, they suggested that 6% of the GDP should be spent on education. We haven't crossed 3% in the last 75 years. Now again, the new education policy talks about spending 6% of the GDP after 60 years. Last year before it was 3% of GDP, then it came down to 2.9% and now it is 2.8%. On research is still worse. We spend only 0.6% of the GDP on research whereas China spends 2.5% of GDP, US spends 3.5% of GDP, Korea spends 4%, and Israel spends more than 5%. So we have to go a long way in encouraging our researchers. In fact, the UGC, our ministry, they may not give us for buildings, but at least for research activities they should pay. They should allocate some funds which is not coming. None of the private universities in the country are getting any money from the government side, UGC, AICT, or so many other bodies are there. They will only control. They will not give you anything. In fact, I used to tell people, for government universities, University Grants Commission. For private universities, it's not UGC, it is UCC, University Control Commission. They only control, they don't give anything. I think it is time now that we wake up from our deep slumber, see that we also spend enough on education and also on research. I am happy that Springer Nature, which is there throughout the world, they have come to VIT this morning. I thank the Managing Director and all other senior officials, and also I thank our ICSR member, council member, for accompanying this delegation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for illustrating the global research stats and inspiring students. I cordially invite Ms. Riya Sachdeva from Springer Nature to continue the session.
Hello, everyone. I would now like to invite Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, the Managing Director of Springer Nature, to symbolically pass the trophy and the baton to Mr. G. Vishwanathan, Chancellor of VIT, marking the handover of this important partnership. This gesture represents the continued collaboration and shared vision between Springer Nature and the esteemed institution. I would also like to request the audience to list out all your feedback and pen down any challenges that you might face as in this book. Moving on, it is my honor to introduce Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, our Managing Director of Springer Nature. He is leading the company's India operations and promoting open science and technology. He previously held senior roles at National Skills Development Corporation, shaping digital skills and CSR initiatives. He spent 10 years at Microsoft focusing on developer ecosystems and innovation centers. He is an alumni of the Yalbagh Educational Institute, BITS Pilani, IIM Calcutta, and the Kellogg School of Management. As a Chevening Gurukul Fellow at King's College London, he has been recognized by Business India and CNBC as the front-runner of corporate India and has received multiple national and international awards for his contributions to education and innovation. I would now like to invite you, sir, to address the audience.
Good morning and vanakkam. It's lovely being in this beautiful place, Vellore. I think this is my third visit in the last 1 year. That shows my love to this place, to this institution, and to the overall community here. Before I start, I just want to take a few seconds to talk about Dr. G. Vishwanathan, the Honorable Chancellor for this institution. We all are here today at Vellore. Vellore is one of the largest private universities in India. You're setting benchmarks not only at an India level, at an worldwide level. 66 undergraduate programs, 58 postgraduate programs, and then 90,000 students. across many campuses. You have campuses in Vellore, you have campuses in Chennai, Bangalore, Amravati, and Bhopal. And then you have 75 top scientists in the 2% of Stanford. And you have 4,000 PhD students. And you have more than close to 5,000 research papers published, the largest in this university. Big round of applause for all of you. But this all could only be started with a dream, with a vision. A person who comes from a very simple small town near Vellore has built this kind of a dream. I think he's a true visionary. And I haven't seen anybody so updated on the GDP spend of India versus other countries. I visited many institutions till now, and we are almost in the last leg. We covered 9 states, 18 cities, and 26 universities or institutions of repute. At this age, making sure he follows everything, every detail, what's happening in the world, itself shows his commitment. He not only in the education, he contributed a lot in shaping the Tamil Nadu, the welfare of the people by being a parliament member. And I think in honor of him, we should all give him a standing ovation for what he has done, because of which we all are here today in this beautiful place. And I think, sir, with you have done contribution not only for this place, not only for this state, but also for India. Thank you so much for all your contributions, sir. I also have to certainly congratulate and thank Dr. Shankar Vishwanathan. He's also here with us for all his contribution. In my last trip, I also met Dr. Shekhar Vishwanathan, who was here, and Dr. G.V. Selvam. All three of us have been now shaping up this institution from where it is started to the next 20 years. This institution is massive. In simple words, when we visit some of the IITs, there are institutions, of course, of repute in India, in the world, but certainly they always ask us what's happening at VIT. What's happening at VIT, because you're in the forefront of adopting the latest technologies, forefront of adopting the latest techniques, forefront of adopting latest patents, innovations, and also contribution to research. I'm very happy as a Springer Nature Managing Director to tell you that your institution has been led by very eminent personalities. We talk about diversity. The representation of Dr. V.S. Kanchana Bhaskaran, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, itself is a true mark of diversity in this place, wherein she's leading this prestigious institution from the front. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all your support in making things happen. And also Dr. Parthasarathi Malik, he's one person, any forum, any conference in Springer Nature at a global or in India level, we always look up to for his inputs, his active participation. In fact, he was in Delhi in the beginning of the year to meet our founders as well as our worldwide CEOs, and very actively engaging and driving things. Thank you so much, sir, for your support in making things happen for many of us. And, last but not the least, Dr. P. Arul, I think very humble, and he's the person behind all of this for today to happen. I don't know, I don't have words to say. His support is really, really amazing in all 3 engagements which we have driven this year. At Springer Nature, we value VIT, really very highly close to our heart. Reason being, you're not only just driving education ecosystem, but also shaping the research ecosystem in this country by actively engaging with firms like Springer Nature in making sure the research ecosystem at large is empowered. This year, we signed multiple engagements with VIT, but to mention few is our fully open access membership deal, and also the support what you extend to our larger communities of research. We are with you in this journey, and we would look forward to actively participate in many engagements to strengthen the research ecosystem in this country. Just to give you a brief of why we are what we are doing now, this is an India research tour. It's a partnership with the Ministry of Education, and we also have with us the council member of ICSSR, Professor Bibhuti Bhushan Mohanty ji. Thank you for showing your presence and being actively representing ICSSR, Indian Council for Social Science and Research. We covered almost like 9 states now. We are in Tamil Nadu. This is the last state we are here. We started off from Delhi, covered 9 states, 18 cities, and 25 prominent institutions till now. So, we started in JNU, went to Delhi University, then of course, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, BITS Plani, and many, many other cities, and finally reaching to VIT. But I'm also happy to share, this is one of very few institutions we are again visiting as part of India Research Tour. So that's another milestone, coming all the way. That shows our relationship and our importance towards VIT and researchers in this ecosystem. As rightly said by the Chancellor, Honorable Chancellor, India certainly needs to improve its research funding, whether it's 0.6% in the area of GDP spend percentage in the research, which needs to go up from a brick economy perspective also, which much lower when compared with 2.5% and 3.5% by China and USA. And even the funding at an institution level, because India has 1,250 universities, whether it is state, central, deemed, private, and all put together, and 50,000 colleges. All of Europe would not have more than 50,000 colleges. Yeah, that's the kind of a scale. With that kind of a scale, if we have to really push up, I think funding is an utmost important thing, and the government should certainly look at increasing the funding. As he touched upon, the 6% was thought long time back, and even now we are below 3%, which causes a kind of a situation for all of us to put forward our thoughts. We have an interesting book which is traveling with us called Baton. Please pen down your thoughts in that book as researchers. What is needed in research? What is the right way of doing research? Because research integrity is another issue. This theme of this event is RISE, which stands for Research Integrity in Science and Education. So your thoughts are extremely valued. Please make sure, ask questions, write down your thoughts, because this copy of it will go to Ministry of Education. We are trying to do our bit by taking your thoughts to the ministry and see how we can jointly address the needs of the growing country from a research perspective. I don't want to take much time because we have a lot of interesting things today. But thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for giving us this opportunity to host the India Research Tour 2024 at this beautiful campus in VIT Vellore. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for such a warm welcome and for addressing the audience. I would now like to request Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi to felicitate the institution, and I would request Mr. G. Vishwanathan to receive this token of appreciation. I would also like to request Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi to felicitate Dr. G. Vishwanathan. Mr. Shankar Vishwanathan, Vice President VIT. Dr. V.S. Kanchana Bhaskaran, Vice Chancellor, VIT. Dr. Partha Sharthi Malik, Pro Vice Chancellor, VIT. And Professor Vibhuti Bhushan Mohanty from ICSSR. And Professor Arul. We would also like to recognize our women researchers, as I call upon stage Dr. Gitanjali P. from the School of Electrical Engineering. I would also like to request you, ma'am, to say a few words about your research.
my research is about detecting the intention of amputees for the actuation of the prosthetic hand, and as well as detecting the intention from the brain signal if they have C4 engineers, so that there will be muscular impairments will be there. So ultimately, my aim is to detect the signal, information hidden in the signal, to pursue the research for the wellness of the human beings. So I will not be able to talk much. So thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. So this India Research Tour, as part of this tour, we are also recognizing and rewarding some of the best women researchers across this country. These are initiative under the campaign called Her Research, Our Future, and this is part of that. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your contribution. Thank you.
I would like to call Dr. Sumati S. from the School of Advanced Sciences.
A very good morning to all of you. Good morning, sir. Good morning, all the people. Actually, I am working on material science particularly. The materials which are relevant to the implants, particularly bone implants, and also the materials which are required for the remediations, like particularly water remediations, removal of contaminants like dyes, antibiotics, etc., which are very much relevant to the society, the health and the environment issues that are dealt by our research groups. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Madhumita G. from the School of Advanced Sciences.
A few words.
First, I would like to thank our Honorable Chancellor for providing us this esteemed opportunity to do our research work. And I would like to thank all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. My research work is on, I'm working on the natural products, and from the naturally available material, we are extracting, isolating, and that material is being used for the environmental degrading material and incorporating that into the nanomaterials. And we in our research laboratory, we concentrate on the agricultural related problems like biopesticides, insecticides, and herbicides. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
I would now like to call Dr. Velvizi G. from CO2 Research and Green Technology Center.
Good morning to all. My work is on environmental engineering. I am working on waste management and waste to energy, waste to wealth. And other work is on CO2 sequestration to value-added products. Basically, I am from CO2 Center. And I've been also, my PhD scholar, one of my PhD scholars developed an IoT-based ecological engineering system which will restore the lakes. And it has been patented. I'm happy and I'm thankful for that. And I'm also, one of my students is also working on photocatalytic degradation. And other student is working on solid waste management and CO2 to value-added products through biological process. And I'm also happy that I'm also this time like 2% Stanford University award. So I thank our Vice Chancellor and all our Chancellor and everyone for giving me this opportunity. It was a great institute that do research. As I already told, it was a very good opportunity for us. And it is, as I already told, the students' strength is very important. And the ambitions, we developed, and I worked in CSI Institute of Chemical Technology, and we did a patent on microbial fuel cells. So, and I worked for New York City College. There we worked on wastewater treatment. So those experiences made me that to develop more and give my part to the society. And it aligns more on SDG goals. So I'm happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Sudha Ramaya from the School of Biosciences and Technology.
Can you say a few words?
Hello, good morning to everyone. First, I would like to thank the management for giving us an opportunity to do research in our esteemed university. I'm actually a computational biologist. We work on various aspects of bioinformatics. We do antimicrobial resistance, and we use systems biology approaches to design the biomarkers for various diseases like Parkinson's disease, cancer, various types of cancer. And I would also like to thank you for selecting me as a distinguished woman researcher. Thank you, Honorable. And I mentioned one point, VIT is a place where we chance to grow and a chance to learn. So this is what I adopted in my lifetime. Thank you very much.
I would like to call all our women researchers on the stage for a group picture.
Yeah, if all of you can join for a group picture, we can also request Sir Dr. Vishwanathan sir also to please be here, along with all of you. Okay. They'll come? Okay.
Make it first, please.
Okay. Maybe some of the Springer Nature, they're requesting George, Ria, Ram, can you also jump around? The team of Springer Nature. Huh? Sure. After this? Okay, sure. I would also like to stand with them. Maybe that would be nice for me. Yes. No, that's okay. Yes. No, that's okay. I like to stand with them. That's nice.
Thank you all. Up next, it is an honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Bibhuti Bhushan Mohanty, as a distinguished figure in their field. They bring a vessel of knowledge and expertise and that promises to inspire and enlighten us all. Please join me in welcoming Professor Bibhuti Bhushan Mohanty to the stage. Thank you.
Very good morning to all of you. Honorable Founder and Chancellor of VIT, Dr. G. Vishwanathan, the former Member of the Parliament and a visionary institutional builder, and he is one of the few persons in India who has brought a kind of revolutionary educational transformation in the country. I fully endorse the words expressed by the Managing Director of Springer Nature and the Managing Director of Springer Nature India, Sri Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, the Vice President of VIT, Mr. Shankar Vishwanathanji, the Vice Chancellor of VIT, Dr. V.S. Kanchana Bhaskaran, Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. Parthasarathi Malik, the Dean of Academic Research Dr. P. Arul, the dignitaries of the dais and other representatives of the Springer Nature India, the faculty members of VIT and research scholars, friends. At the outset, I am thankful to the VIT for hosting this Springer Nature India research tour and bringing us together here to celebrate this India Research Tour, the second edition, its second edition. And I must tell that this is the second edition, and the first edition, as it was mentioned, it was a very successful experience. And the primary aim, as it was explained, to create a kind of new research environment ecosystem and awareness network building, how to enhance the capacity among these young researchers, and also to have a kind of inclusiveness and to generate a kind of wider awareness among these researchers about the various ethics and integrity of research. That is what the primary aim, and we have been very successful in organizing this research tour in collaboration with the Springer Nature of India. And ICSR, Indian Council of Social Science Research, it is a kind of only funding agency for social science research, public funding agency now. And it has been promoting social science research in India and giving a kind of orientation and also identifying the various kind of research themes. And it is offering scholarships, fellowships, and also funding various research projects, not only to public universities and public institutions, also to the private universities. I also want to draw the attention of our Chancellor that government universities, the government agencies are not funding actually the private universities, but to my knowledge, ICSR is actually funding both public and private universities. I also urge the social science faculty members here to submit proposals to ICSR. I will also convey the concern, and I am sure many of you will get research funding from ICSR. So the social science research actually in India, we have, if you see, I fully agree with our Chancellor, sir. We have actually, in India, we have a kind of largest educational sector, higher education sector, though in terms of investment it is not so, but in terms of size, we have around 480 state universities, state public universities, private universities around over 400 private universities, central universities actually we have 56 central universities, 23 IITs, and 31 NITs, and 21 IIMs, and around 25 research institutes. It's a huge kind of arrangement, it's a huge establishment. But our research output in terms of both quality and quantity, actually we are lagging behind compared to the Western countries. Our Chancellor sir rightly said that if you compare us with America, China, and other developed countries, we are lagging behind. Our investment need to be actually enhanced further, but whatever we are investing, the outcome is actually still to be enhanced further. And if you come to social science research here, recently ICSR, actually Indian Council of Social Science Research, has actually taken a lot of initiatives how to promote indigenous research, how to strengthen our Indian knowledge system, and how to bring a kind of new orientation in the research, how to promote innovation. It's not that actually kind of same repetitive kind of research. For last so many years and so many decades in social science research, we have been actually imitating the West rather than actually innovating in the East. Actually, some of these concept theories, all the time we are copying West and trying to do research just to fill the gaps. Just to fill the gaps. Whatever they are doing, we are trying to uncritically applying it and trying to see that how far they are actually explaining our Indian situation. But remember, actually, those theories and concepts, they are actually based on the experience of the minority of the population, 3 to 4% of the population, and vast mass of the population is being viewed through that lens. That is actually, that needs to be challenged, which ICSR actually trying to do, that we have to promote indigenous research, we have to strengthen our Indian knowledge systems. We had a kind of, we have a kind of large diversity, regional large diversity, huge population, and lot of things which a kind of gold mine of information. We can offer better framework, better kind of concepts to the world, to explain the world order, world situation. So that actually we are lagging behind. We need to promote research and original research, innovative research, cutting edge research, which will serve the world. Not that we have to follow this kind of a Western model, Western kind of paradigms, and ignoring our kind of innovations, our indigenous knowledge system, our Indian knowledge system, which we have, and we need to strengthen it. That is what the focus of the ICSR now. Now we are trying to promote indigenous research and our knowledge, Indian knowledge systems we have to promote, and each time now ICSR is actually coming up with new research themes, and which has actually, the large number of research themes which have social relevance as well as policy implications. It's not that we do research which is actually not actually useful. So earlier actually we have conducted a lot of research, but the reports are lying in ICSR office and or in a kind of library. So now the focus is shifted at how to promote kind of quality research which will be useful for policy making and which will have social relevance and which will also can be disseminated, widely disseminated. So therefore, this kind of a research tour initiatives which is now taken by this Springer Nature in collaboration with the Indian Council of Social Science Research and the agency of Ministry of Education, and it will create a kind of a new awareness about the ethics of research, how to conduct research, the integrity of the research, and also it will try to enhance the capability of the researchers. And as the managing director was telling, that her research is our future. Now they are also emphasizing on women, enhancing the capability of the women researcher. And one point actually I must tell you that the major kind of the key institutions or the center of excellence like VITs and other places, they are in few places in Delhi or Bombay or Calcutta, but large constituents of social science research, social science institutions are in the kind of public universities, state public universities in the periphery, and they lag behind, and in terms of resources and in terms of accessibility, in terms of networking. So I think our efforts should be also there, how to bring them to the mainstream and connect this mainstream kind of research with the periphery or with the large constituents of the social science researchers are clear there. So those who follow vernacular medium of education and those who do not have access to many resources. So this kind of platform, this kind of awareness, I am sure it will take us actually kind of to greater height, and we'll have a kind of new kind of awareness, new research ecosystem will be generated. And I will not take much time now, the sleep is handed over to me. I will stop here, and I wish the tour grand success. I think they are concluding now soon in SRM University, and it's a kind of very wonderful experience, and we enjoyed actually working with the Springer Nature. On behalf of ICSR, I thank VIT and also Springer Nature for this organizing this event. Thank you so much, all the best.
Request all the dignitaries to move towards the bus for the flag off. I would like the audience to remain. The flag off will be at the MGR block portico. I kindly request the audience to stay back. Remind us that honesty is the foundation of all research. In a world where information is powerful, the role of honesty and ethics in scientific work has never been more important. RISE stands for Research Integrity in Science and Education, and this initiative is the first of its kind in India, focusing on enhancing research practices through accessibility, empowerment, and advocacy. To enlighten us more, we have a special RISE masterclass by Mr. George Inglis. I request you to please come and deliver this session.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming out this morning. It's a pleasure to be here at VIT today. And thank you very much for the kind introduction. My name is George Inglis. I'm a senior editor in the Nature portfolio, and I'll be going over principles of research integrity. And I will say you're welcome to take photos of these slides, but you'll also see that there are going to be a lot of QR codes with links to resources. And both on this page and on the last slide of the presentation, there's a QR code where you can have access to the full set of slides as a future resource. So if you don't want to take photos throughout, you will have access to these slides in the future as well. So just to get started, I think most of us in this audience didn't necessarily go into research to explicitly write papers. We went into research because we were really interested in a particular topic and kind of pursuing the truth and more knowledge in that particular research area. And research integrity really goes hand in hand with this pursuit of truth and making sure that as we pursue our research, as we pursue knowledge in that particular area, we're doing it with transparency and with integrity. And this goes hand in hand as well with 4 principles of research integrity that were established as part of the Singapore Statement in 2010. And these are honesty and conduct of research, honesty and accountability in the conduct of research, and this also goes to transparency, which I'll get into quickly, professional courtesy and fairness in working with others and research colleagues and other teams in the dissemination of research, and then also stewardship of research in terms of data and resources for others who are working in that area. And as I just mentioned, transparency is very much relevant to research integrity because well-done research thrives in the light. And as a general principle, I'm going to go through a lot of different examples and different areas of research integrity in the coming slides. But as a general kind of principle, if you're ever about to do something and you wonder that if that action ever came to light, it might be looked on unfavorably, or if it might not hold up under scrutiny, if the answer, is maybe yes, if you would be uncomfortable about doing it, or even maybe yes, then it's probably a sign that you should not be taking that action. So just to dive into different kind of areas of research integrity, first and foremost, working with models or working with data from human or animals. And in general, whenever you're working with human or animal research, it's very important to get ethical approval from an institutional review board or IRB before you begin any experiments. If it's research that involves human participants, then this must follow the guidelines from the Declaration of Helsinki, which essentially says that all participants must have provided informed consent about the use of their data and the goals of the study. Research involving animals needs to observe the 3 R's set out in the Principles of Humane Experimental Technique, and so that's reduction, replacement, and refinement. And essentially what that means is that if you're using animals, there has to be an explicit reason you need to use that model. You're minimizing any pain or suffering that those animals may experience, and you're only using as many animals as necessary to conduct your research. And I will say that reputable journals will actually require authors to confirm their ethical approval before publication, and we have areas in our manuscripts that essentially require you to state who or what is the IRB that approved this research, what is the protocol number, and really be explicit about what consent and ethical approval the study went through. Another kind of area of research integrity falls into plagiarism, which is essentially any attempt to present someone else's work as your own. This isn't limited necessarily just to kind of copying and pasting text from someone else's research. Plagiarism can involve plagiarizing figures or plagiarizing data without appropriate kind of credit to those original studies. And ways to very clearly avoid plagiarism are if you copy text from another study, if you're using a direct quote, then make it clear that is a direct quote in your study. Use quotation marks, say, as stated by so-and-so study, and give a proper citation for that work. If you copy a figure, make sure it's clear in the figure legend that this was copied from another study, give credit to that original study, and then also make sure that you gathered appropriate permissions for reuse of that figure. Journals and publishers will have guidance about what steps you need to take in order to copy a figure from existing work. And also, if you use data from another study, very similarly, you should be saying what study that data came from, mention whenever it's being used in the paper, and also justify why you're using data from that study. On a related note about images and data, whenever you're working with data, make sure to use the underlying data as it is, rather than as you hope it would be. I think everyone in this room is aware that science and research can be quite messy, and we have very idealized, or we have an ideal about how our experiments will turn out, but reality doesn't always reflect that. However, messy data can still include very important kind of insights about your research topic and can be useful in informing your conclusions. And in general, whenever you present your data in a figure, it should be accurate to the original data as it was collected versus how you would like it to be. And in general, if your figures seem like they're too good to be true, then that may be kind of a cause for alarm for readers or editors during the peer review process as well. As kind of a case study of this, here, this is actually a figure from the original version of a published paper, where they have kind of, in this graph, they have 2 data sets in terms of this blue diamonds for domain, red circles for background. And this was actually a cherry-picked figure, where in the original publication, the authors removed certain data points to get clear kind of separation between these 2 clusters of data. And this is actually flagged by co-authors after publication, where they said, we realize that there are a few data points that are missing from this figure. And so this eventually had to be corrected to include the complete set of data points, including some data points that would have kind of blurred the boundary between these two sets of data. And I will say this is a case where really this correction was unnecessary. It does not change this kind of removal of data points was unnecessary because it doesn't change the kind of main conclusion of the figure or of the data set. It really just makes these two data sets seem more distinct than they actually are, but you still see this clear separation between background and domain. And so just to say that if there is data manipulation, this is something that will also be caught by readers or reviewers. And in general, for do's and don'ts of figures and data, as I mentioned, do not add, move, or delete data points. Don't try to polish data from what it was originally collected. And absolutely never combine data or images that were gathered under different experimental conditions or different times into a single image. In general, make sure that you're manipulating data as little as possible before presenting it. If you are kind of doing any of these edits, it should be transparently reported and justified in your manuscript. And always retain the original data and any raw images because they must be supplied upon request. And many journals are actually requiring for publication that source data or kind of raw, unprocessed figures are provided alongside the original manuscript. And a general rule of thumb is transparency is always a winner. So do consider sharing your figures and data on an open data repository like Figshare or Dryad at the same time your paper is published, even if it isn't necessarily required by the journal. I think this question will come up sooner rather than later. But I think AI is impacting many different facets of life, including scholarly publishing. And so I think it's useful to go over some of our guidelines for the responsible use of AI in publishing. So I will say, of course, this is a rapidly developing field, but currently our policies are that ChatGPT or similar to generative AI models cannot be listed as authors on manuscripts. And the main reason for this is that authors are responsible and accountable for content that's provided in a manuscript. So if you have a chatbot, it doesn't actually know what it's writing. It's just kind of spewing out text into intelligible sentences. And so if there is some discrepancy that pops up with a manuscript later on, you can't go back to that chatbot and ask for an explanation of that error. We also say that if you use a chatbot in writing a paper or developing a paper, that you clearly state that you did that in the methods or in the acknowledgements. And again, because transparency is key in all aspects of research. I will say, again, this is a rapidly developing field, so I'm going to go over a few more principles of AI use, but I would encourage you to take a look at our dedicated AI page, scan this QR code for future reference, which will always have the most up-to-date policies for Springer Nature. Another aspect here is I focused on generative AI in text, but we do not allow for the use of generative AI in figures, images, or data. The exception here, which is judged on a case-by-case basis, is if the whole point of the study is to comment on generative AI in terms of figure or data. So for context, this here is actually an AI-generated image, which is included for the point of saying that AI can generate very realistic images these days. But if you, say, had a study where you wanted to compare human participants' reaction to human versus AI-generated images, and you wanted to show kind of examples of those images, that would probably be a case where it's fine to include that AI-generated image in the context of a paper, because the whole point of that study is to, again, comment on, in part, these AI-generated images. I will say that you can use AI to improve the grammar and readability of human-generated text. So if you you make the first draft of the paper and you kind of want to run it through a model in order to kind of clean up grammar or look for mistakes, that doesn't necessarily need to be disclosed, but I would strongly encourage you to do careful proofreading just to make sure that none of the content or underlying kind of conclusions of the paper have changed as a result of that use of generative AI. And in general, remember that not all AI tools are generative, but if you ever use a non-generative machine learning tool to manipulate or kind of change your manuscript or data, do remember that this has to be disclosed at the time of submission for case-by-case review by the editorial staff. And I will say another thing that we do not allow is generative AI should not be used to write peer reviews, and there are two reasons for this. First and foremost, if an editor is reaching out to you for a review on a paper, it's because they value your technical expertise in that topic. And ChatGPT and similar tools surely do not have as much expertise in that area as qualified researchers would. And the second angle is that peer review is meant to be confidential. And so if you take confidential information and put it into a tool like ChatGPT, that actually becomes that can become part of the next kind of iteration of that tool. And so confidential information suddenly loses its confidentiality. I did mention that ChatGPT cannot be listed as an author. And so for the actual co-authors you have on paper, I'll go over a few principles of how to avoid any authorship disputes. And so as I mentioned, authorship means that you are partly responsible and accountable for published work. And so authors on papers are expected to have made some sort of significant contribution to the design of a study, to data collection, or to data analysis of a paper. At the same time, they're expected to have approved the submitted version and any subsequent revisions of a manuscript. And they've agreed to be accountable for their own contributions to the study. So if questions pop up later on about how something was done in the context of a study, you essentially agree to be open to those questions and to discussion about the paper in the future as well. And most reputable journals will actually have sections dedicated in their manuscripts where you can clearly say what the contributions of each author were to the process. So it's called an author contribution statement, and you can say author A or author B designed the study, author C, authors D, et cetera, developed this specific formulation. And this is both useful in order to give appropriate credit to different authors in the process, and then also it's useful for readers, so if they have a specific question about how a part of the study was designed, this also helps them figure out who they should be reaching out to. Related to author contributions are conflicts of interest. And so conflicts of interest, sometimes competing interests, are essentially anything that could potentially bias your interpretation of data in a paper. These can be financial, so if you have a patent on something that you're presenting in the context of a research paper, they could be non-financial, where perhaps a close family member has a financial stake in a company or has some direct tie to the research that you're performing. In general, conflicts of, well, not in general, across the board, transparency really is key to addressing any of these potential conflicts of interest. And so similar to the author contribution statement, reputable journals will require authors to declare if they have any conflicts of interest and then what these interests are. And so this would be, again, something where you say the authors declare these following competing interests, or if there actually aren't any conflicts of interest or competing interests, you can say, as clear as day, that as well. Moving beyond kind of these author contributions and competing interest statements, it's also important to be a good steward in terms of the literature that you cite when writing a manuscript, and to be aware of inappropriate citation practices. And so inappropriate citations can include omissions or citation bias, where you're failing to cite important work that is relevant to the paper at hand, or work that might contradict your own findings. And this is problematic in part because it fails to provide the reader with appropriate context for your work. There could be excessive self-citation as well, where you fail to cite other researchers' contributions to the field, which again prevents readers from getting a well-rounded kind of sense of what is going on in this particular research area. There could be misrepresentation, where you say this paper made one conclusion that it did not. And related to the use of AI and why it's really important to kind of double check any changes that have been made to the text are both cutting and pasting or fabrication, where you're copying references from other studies without actually reading them, which could lead to misrepresentation, or AI could be quote unquote hallucinating and making up studies that don't actually exist. And a general principle here is just don't cite anything that you haven't personally read. So if you are citing a study in your own work, it should be intentional, and it should be because you think that adds context or that adds value to the overall kind of scope of your story. And then moving on in terms of predatory journals. If you haven't heard this term before, predatory journals are essentially journals that will defraud authors by charging an article processing fee, or APC, but they fail to carry out the basic tenets or basic principles of journals. They fail to really carry out peer review. They may misrepresent or outright lie about the composition of their editorial boards, and they essentially carry out little or no quality control during the peer review and publication process. And issues with this are, one, it can undermine your career, your reputation, and your institution's reputation. It wastes the effort that you've put into your research, because this could go into a journal that may not be indexed and therefore would not be kind of discoverable by your peers. And this undermines the published record, because you're putting out, they can put out inaccurate or misleading research out there that would perhaps misinform future researchers in the same area. And general ways to think about avoiding predatory journals. I mean, really, one goal of publishing is to make sure that your peers can see your work. And so one thing you can do is look for journals where your peers are most likely to publish, because if they publish in a journal, they probably read the other content that comes out from that journal. And so go to where your community, your research community, and your peers are publishing. But if you're ever not sure of whether something is a predatory journal, one really good resource is a website called Think, Check, Submit, and this essentially provides checklists or guidelines of things you should be looking out for that are kind of red flags or warning signs about predatory journals. On a related note, do not consider paper mills. Paper mills are similar to predatory journals in that they'll actually sell authorships on fake research papers for paying customers. And so sometimes these papers are just outright plagiarized from other work. Sometimes they're fully generated by AI, but in either of these cases, they're never legitimate publications. And much like predatory journals, these paper mills can pollute and undermine kind of trust in particular research areas. And while legitimate publishers like Springer Nature and many other publishing companies are trying to develop systems to detect and retract paper mill papers, just keep in mind that there are serious consequences for your reputation and your career if you are to publish in these journals. And as a general principle, I know this is a lot of information on research integrity, but do take a look at journal guidelines on our editorial policies and our values for research integrity in the journals where your peers publish as guidelines. And as a final note, I will say, beyond research integrity, I think it's also important to talk about kind of the overall value of research itself. And so I will say, as you're picking journals to submit in, I think publishers as a whole, and I'll get to a point on this in a few slides as well, publishers as a whole, we're trying to de-emphasize things like impact factors or H indices or citations, because a lot of really important progress for fields can often be quote-unquote incremental as well. So one kind of example of this are the original commercial disk drives, where a single one of these would weigh over 1 ton. It would cost something like $315,000, but only for a storage capacity of 5 megabytes back in the 1950s. But as you can see on this graph at the bottom, due to iterative kind of improvements in storage density and improvements in kind of refining this process over years and over decades, we've gotten to the point where these disk drives are 20,000 times lighter, much cheaper, much faster, much more energy efficient, and store 200,000 times more information. And without this kind of iterative or incremental progress over the years, the hard drive in a laptop today would be about the size of 4 aircraft carriers, which most definitely would not fit in this auditorium. And if only car technology had followed a similar path to this, then a 1956 Volkswagen Beetle nowadays would weigh 400 grams, cost $5, and have incredible mileage and fuel efficiency. And so I just want to end on the sentiment that good research is really more than just being published in Nature or a Nature-branded journal, because research should be judged on its own merits. It should be judged by the paper and the work that's being presented by authors, and not just the journal that it's been published in. And as I mentioned before, for many years at Nature and Springer Nature as a whole, we've argued against just relying on impact factors to judge the quality of a journal. And we are actually one of the first large publishers to sign on to the San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment, or DORA, which essentially says that we should be providing kind of a more nuanced or holistic view at journal performance. And I think we're very proud to have many journals, or many families of journals, like Scientific Reports, VMC series, and I believe there will be a talk about the Curious series family of journals later as well. Many journals that prioritize reliable and reproducible research that really meets these goals. And with that being said, thank you very much for your time. There's a QR code if you'd like a copy of the slides. And as future reference, if you'd like more resources on research integrity, I would encourage you to take a look at these 2 masterclasses, or these 2 online courses. You have to sign up for an account, which is free, but the courses themselves are also free. You just have to sign up for the account beforehand. And with that being said, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, George.
Q&A.
If there are any questions.
Oh, yes? Maybe it's...
On what basis this Q1 and Q2 are fixed? If the impact factors are not considered or citations are not considered, so how do you evaluate this actually? So I need your answer on this aspect actually.
Yeah, so I guess by Q1, Q2, you mean like the quarters? Like,
quarter one.
Yeah, so I mean, I will say like a lot of these metrics are judged on the time scale of 2 years, like a year or 2 years versus on quarterly basis. The impact factor, for instance, like the default is a 2-year impact factor, where it's a sliding scale of, on average, how many times a paper cited in a journal would have been, or how many times a paper in that journal would have been cited over the scale of 2 years. And there's also a 5-year impact factor. I think the industry as a whole is trying to figure out, like, is there one metric that we should be looking at? Are there multiple metrics that we should be looking at? I mean, I'm not sure there's one single metric that's really going to be useful for quarterly to quarterly updates. But I think things to look for are, you can look at the impact factor. I know that's still like something that a lot of researchers will look at. But take a look at things like turnaround times for journals as well, because you want to, that's not necessarily a signifier of impact, but that is a signifier of kind of how the journal treats its authors. Because you want to go to a journal where the editors will kind of value your time and value your contribution. I think that's one thing to look for. You can look at the average altmetric scores for papers as well, because things may not be cited, but they may be actively discussed in fields as well. So I don't mean to give like a hand-waving answer, but I think we're still struggling as an industry to come up with like a one-size-fits-all indicator as well, beyond the impact factor.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Currently, I'm a 4th year UG student. So, in recent years, we have seen the advancement of generative AI, as you explained in your session. So, in recent years, what changes after you receive the research paper after you receive the research paper for technical examination, what changes has Springer taken for examining the research paper and then for publishing the research paper?
So is the question, like, have we applied generative AI ourselves to how we
No, it's
handle
like
research papers? Or?
Like if someone has submitted a research paper in Springer or any other research form, how does Springer assess it, and maybe some of the papers get rejected because they might be using some form of generative AI which is not accepted.
Okay, good question. So essentially, I think the question is like, how are we looking out for use of generative AI?
Yes.
I mean, I will say, like, for journals, all of the papers are read by editors, by full-time editors or members of the editorial board. So that would not change in the future. That's something where we would do the look over the paper. And I think if there's ever a case where we have a suspicion that generative AI was used for the text, or if we see kind of glaring issues in the text, we may go back to the authors and say, like, did you use ChatGPT in this instance? And if there are glaring errors to the point where it makes us think that the discussion of the paper is not reputable, then we probably go to the authors and say, like, this does not match the results. This is not something that we could consider. But I think the point is, like, if there's something that kind of raises concern about the paper, we would go back to the authors and ask for clarification. I mean, there are times where if there are concerns about figures, we may still have, but we think that, like, there's potential in the paper. It may go out to reviewers as well, but that way we can also get people who work with this kind of data much more regularly. We can get their professional input on it as well and see if there are any kind of red flags about data manipulation or any kind of issues with the data being presented in the paper.
Because of time, I would like to request the audience to reserve their questions till the end.
Yeah. As a token of appreciation, we like to honor George English.
As we continue today's event, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of open access in shaping the future of research. I would now like to invite Ms. Riya Dadra to take the stage and lead us through this session.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Riya Dadra. I work as a manager for outreach and advocacy at Springer Nature. Before I begin, I just have one question from you all. How many of you have published in an open access journal? 1, 2, 3. Anyone from the back? Great, that's a very good number. I want to ask one small question from any one of you who have raised your hands. How was your experience in publishing in an open access journal or getting an OA article published? What were the challenges? Let's start with the challenges. Would you?
Thank you so much for your positive question in a very negative, expecting the negative answer, hoping you to guide in a positive way. The beginning challenge is how shall we get the work done? Somehow or other, how shall our paper be published? That is the beginning challenge. It's a very common inspiration in the minds of everybody. And after that, we would be just pinning ourselves to some meaningful idea, and we'll collect all the data as per everything. And the problem is, first of all, we don't immediately, human curiosity is expecting some positive answer within the limited time, and that has, the duration is, the first is duration. The other one is the expectation and the reality will always not go together. And most of the time, one's idea which is clicked cannot be taken, and we cannot run on the same thing by adding our juice into that. So all these things put us in a trouble where we'll be always in a fused status to go ahead. And if you just take any kind of a very practical and right now issues, and we'll go ahead and say, I belong to Department of English working on social science concept, and where we really find so hard to get our nut crack. Any kind of a social issue, if you just take it, we are not able to bring it in a politicized way. At the same time, facts also cannot be bluntly stated. So lots of issues really put us in trouble.
So I understand the challenges of, especially from the social sciences of publishing in open access, and the troubles that you face usually when you go through the process. Any positive point when you get an OA article published?
Maybe I can say the citations, like you
Right.
can get more citations.
Yes. So ma'am, do you think it's worth the pain, the citations which you receive? Ma'am, I want you to say that on the mic.
Without pain, there is no gain. No, every pain is very worthy, and that's undoubtedly. And if you you immediately gave the mic and you want me to say this word, that you please raise the word through mic, let everyone be heard. In the same way, we also expect our pain to get ended with gain, but most of the time we get disappointed.
So just adding on to the few challenges, I will talk a little bit about open access, open science, what it is all about, especially to young researchers. Then I will take up to the challenges and how we as publishers are addressing these challenges to publish an OA article. So talking about Springer Nature, we are a leading global research publisher. We help researchers and scientists to publish more. And in fact, scientists like Albert Einstein have published with us. We are spread across 40 countries and we have 10,000 employees. In fact, 20% of our workforce is based in India. We have two teams, majorly in Delhi office, which looks after the editorial part. We have the technology team, which is in the Pune state. So if we see on the left-hand side, we have different imprints under us. We have the Nature portfolio, we have Scientific American, then we have Palgrave, Macmillan. Few of our new editions are Curious and Discover series. When we talk about research integrity and we understand the importance of peer reviews, we have a pool of 12 lakh independent peer reviewers in various niche areas. We have around 3,000 plus journals. We are growing journals, getting more open access journals also in this portfolio. Springer Nature operates on two important frameworks, which is SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We continuously follow different protocols, frameworks to manage both of these frameworks. For example, in fact, in our organization, women make up to 44%, and the management board also has a 50-50 gender split. Then we as a company also have a target to reach net zero by 2040. We publish majority of papers which are published, in fact, on SDGs are in the open access format. Internally, we have different employee networks like Springer Nature Green Office, SN Women, SN Pride, SN Parents, where we internally have various campaigns, various seminars to keep our organizations engaged and aware about the challenges. As I've mentioned that we have 2,000 people, Springer Nature employees spread across India. We have partnered with almost 96 societies. We have open access agreements signed with Department of Atomic Energy and BITS Pilani. Then we have two very interesting programs, especially for the early career researchers. One is the Her Research, Our Future, where we are motivating women researchers to publish more, help to understand their challenges. Then the other program we have is an Early Career Research Ambassador program. In fact, we have onboarded few of the VIT research scholars. It's a very unique program where you can be a part of Springer Nature, be a part of all the events that we do, have an opportunity to interact with global leaders of Springer Nature, and also whenever we are doing ministry events. So if you like to be a part of this program, you feel free to connect with me post this session. So coming on to the main part, that open science and open access, why is it so important? So before we move on to understanding what benefits open access have, let's understand where all it started from. So it started in the year of 1990s, where the first preprint was published in the space of physics. We moved on later to the Budapest Open Access Initiative in the year 2002, which had a very basic principle that research should be available to everyone. Then there were the growth of OA journals. Two of the major ones at this stage were PLOS and BMC. BMC is Biomed Central, which is now a part of Springer Nature. Then there were the various policies supported it. And then also the year of transformative agreements, which helped or enabled authors to publish in open access journals at an affordable price. Any idea when were the first open access movement started in India? Any idea? Which year? Absolutely right. It's 2004. And I hope you didn't Google it, because that's quite accurate. And this is the first time I'm getting to hear this response. That's correct. It started in 2004 in Chennai, where 2 workshops were held around open access. So giving you a very small instance, like whenever we are going to a doctor and, you know, problems are coming up, world is facing different challenges, new diseases come up, and if you are going to a doctor and the doctor has zero knowledge of what is actually happening in today's time, what is the latest research, what are the latest techniques, what are the latest medicines that are happening, then you may not be able to get the right treatment. So it's very important for everyone, not just the doctors, but policy makers, engineers, to get access to all the latest research that is happening. And by doing so, we create 4 major pillars. One is we create a faster and more effective research system. We build an equitable research landscape, which means research is available to everyone at no cost. Then we protect and enhance research integrity. When everyone from various fields come together, that means we can solve the world's greatest challenges. Now here, this slide talks about, you know, the benefit of open access publishing in 2 ecosystems. We talk about the research system, where we have been heard that publishing an OA article means that you'll have higher downloads, you will have higher citation of your articles. This means that your work can be easily reproduced, your protocols, your methods can be read by everyone. And being especially from a social science background, where we understand that cross-collaboration is extremely important, this also enhances and improves interdisciplinary research. When we move beyond academia, we see that there is an increased increases media and social media mentions of research. This is an age of social media, so if you have your research going on, that means there'll be higher mentions in the social media page, higher visibility of your work. Then if we see that if research is accessible to companies and startups, this means they'll be boosting the economic growth. If we see the data of Springer Nature open access articles, we see for authors, there were 1.6x more citations, 4.9x altmetric attention for journal articles. For librarians and institutions, we see that there are higher downloads in comparison to a non-OA article. For society and science, what I have mentioned, that we are focusing on SDGs. So in fact, major of our articles are published around those areas, and all of this in the open access format. And we also see that there are nearly 3 billion OA content downloads. I will just skip to the data which says, this is the last year data, which we can see that 20% increase in downloads for OA journals. 65% of our OA articles published in 2023 were in fully open access journals. Then we see that there are higher number of citations. Now, I will go through 2 or 3 journals which are in the open access and will really help, especially from the space of social sciences, where you can check out these journals and look and apply for being part of this journal. You can submit your articles, and later on I'll be moving on to how Springer Nature as a publisher is understanding the problem of APCs, how are we addressing it. So before I move on, can anybody tell me what APC stands for? Students majorly. Great. So just telling you, especially for people who are new towards open access publishing, so how the system works is that when you submit an article to be published in open access, the author needs to pay APCs, which are the article processing charges, that needs to be paid to the publisher. Now this APC covers 3 major aspects. 1 is the hosting charges, 2, doing the peer review, 3, doing all the editing and typesetting for the author. Now, what is the challenge here is the high amount of APCs. As a researcher in the Indian ecosystem, and sir also talked about how the GDP is investing towards research, we see a challenge of cost, money, and also other various challenges that it takes a lot of time to publish. So in the next few slides, in fact, we have a very unique journal called Curious Journal series, which would be taken over by my colleague. He will explain you how this journal is so different, how we are addressing the challenges of researchers to help them publish more, overcome these challenges in the open access format. So here is a recent journal of humanities and social sciences communication. This is the part of Nature series. You see that we cover both broad, multi and interdisciplinary scope. We have an international editorial team. Now the staff editors are based in London, Heidelberg and Pune. Then since it's an open access journal, that means you'll have a global readership and maximum reach. Then there'll be higher discoverability. We have a strong journal matrix where the impact factor is 3.7. And then, as I mentioned, that we follow a rigorous peer review system. Now this is how the journal looks like. You can log in into this page, learn a bit more about this journal. This is new, sir. Yeah, it's recently started, but I think it should be there for 2 years if it has an impact factor, right? But so basically we are trying, since we have partnered with the ICSSR, we are just focusing more on journals which are social sciences. And this is one of our latest awareness, you can say, outreach that we are doing for this journal. And I know most of you must be thinking that it's a nature journal, there'll be high APC. Though I'll be talking a little bit about this in my last slide, that there is a thing on the website, if you'll check. It's called Nature Fund. So India is a part of 70 low-income countries that is a part of this campaign, where we provide 100% waiver to authors based in India. You can definitely look at the Nature Fund, check and apply, be a part of this, publish your article in this journal. I'll just move on to the ones that are relevant for social sciences. So Curious Journals, which my colleague would be talking about it. And then now comes the most important slide, where we initially raised a question that how are Springer Nature as a publisher helping authors to publish in open access. So we did a marketing campaign last year, and in this marketing campaign we provided waivers to authors to publish in open access. In fact, if we look at the 2023 data, almost 23 million euros was waived off to authors. Then we have different models coming up to support authors to publish in open access. We have the Curious model, Discover series. Then we have fully open access memberships, transformative agreements, and then, as I talked about, the Nature Fund. So I just want to know any questions. Before answering your questions, I would say that, would any one of you like to have a discounted coupon to publish in open access journal? Please raise your hands if you would like to. So whosoever is interested, I would be happy to take your nominations, help you, support you to publish in open access. Please meet me after the session. Give me your email IDs, connect with me. I'll be happy to help. Any more questions about open access? Anyone from the students? Yes.
Good morning, ma'am. Actually, since you were talking about this SDG goals, SDGs is not, it is not considered only with social science, and we can have along with science also.
Absolutely.
But we are unaware of how to connect it. Like we do science, and I just know that yes, there is a category for science, technology, education aspects.
Right.
So is it possible for people who are working on core science kind of research also? How shall we integrate it with SDGs so that our scope to get into the journals could be better?
Right, right. So, whenever you're submitting an article to us or even a book, for example, you can always connect with the editor and ask them that under which SDG is this following. So, Springer Nature, for each SDG, we have a dedicated working group. And we have dedicated page on the Springer Nature link for each SDG where we incorporate your work. For example, if you are, may I know from which field you are, ma'am?
Bioinformatics.
Bioinformatics. So maybe if you publish in the space of bioinformatics, computational biology, we can fit into that some of the SDGs that we have. So before approaching the editor, you can definitely write to us, say that you want to be maybe published in the space of SDG. We can put up your article or book in that page of dedicated for that SDG.
So is it any requirement that we should include it along with our papers also or something?
No, not at all. Not at all, not at all, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Because for every journal, the APCs are not same. Even for Springer Nature, you take one journal is asking for one APC, the other one. So on odd basis, they're fixing this APC.
So we have a panel discussion right now, and we have leaders from Springer Nature sitting on the panel. I think they'll be the best to answer this question, because if I give a commitment, you may come back to me and say, then I may have to go back to my board members. So I think you can raise up that question during the panel discussion.
And also, first of all, why APC? You said like there are some 3 reasons to pay APC. So it's a burden for the authors actually, right? If the university is funding, it's fine. As an individual working in some other small colleges, how do they pay APC? That's a question, right? It's raised by the many authors, but they were not able to pay. Because of that, they go for subscription journals. So I also suggest more subscription journals than the open access, in spite of more citations and more downloadable things that are all there. But how do they pay? Because country like India, sometimes they list in A, list in B, sometimes may not be there in the APC waiver category also. In such a case, how do you address this?
So, ma'am, when we say that the author is paying, there is a misconception that, it's going in the publisher's pocket. Frankly, if we say that it's going in the publisher's pocket, that's not true, because whenever any article goes in the open access format, it has to go through a lot of integrity checks, peer reviewing, and in fact George is from Nature, and he can in fact highlight that how rigorous it is, the peer review process. And if anything is going in the open access, we are a part of DORA signatory also. So that means we need to be very much sure. And we have in-house editors, which requires a lot of man-force to actually read through each an article, verify it, the protocols, and we have dedicated team of peer reviewers. It's a lot of work that is required at the publisher's part. Then we have to do the hosting also. And then we have to put that content on our website. There's a lot of charges which are involved. And, we are continuously trying for authors, like we are giving them waivers, we are doing the Nature Fund, we are doing TAs, we are doing FOAs. But at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of the researchers to pose this question to the government also, that why are we not providing that much funds? Because at the end of the day, as publishers, we can give you waivers for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. What will happen on the 4th year? So that are the questions which are skeptical, which we need answers for, as a researcher, as a publisher.
Paper is very good, and for a kind of established scholar, and you cannot charge APC for them. For a young researcher at entry level, okay, he or she wants to publish, and she is has to make an entry. So at that time, the candidate may be interested, but somebody who is established and has a kind of a good paper, which can be actually cited by many people, or which can be published in a kind of very reputed journal, why will he or she be interested to publish here?
Sir, as a publisher, if you're publishing in open access, you are an early career researcher, you are an established researcher, the workflow remains the same. That means the same man force remains the same. All the editors, they do the equal work.
My point is how to incentivize this kind of
Sir,
serious researchers.
we are trying, we are trying waivers. We have, in fact, a new business model where we are not charging any APCs. My colleague Parag will talk about this journal. As publishers, we are supporting, we are introducing journals. We have Discover series where we are publishing your article faster. Then Curious is there. We provide waivers. Then we have TAs. In fact, we have someone from the sales team also. We have fully open access. We are doing our best as publishers to provide not only to established researchers but also to early career researchers. That is what the best part we are doing at the moment.
Okay.
Any more questions? And in due respect of time, I had the chit also, and we have a panel discussions. We can ask questions. You can ask questions there also. But thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. As a token of appreciation, we like to honor Ms. Riya Datra, Manager Outreach, Springer Nature.
Thank you, Riya, for this very interactive session on open access journals. To continue today's event, I would like to invite Mr. Parag Budhak for a demo on Curious Journals.
Okay, good morning. Happy to be here at Vellore Institute of Technology for the first time. Just a interesting fact that one of my nieces is a graduate of VIT. She did her master's in genetics from VIT Vellore. So happy to visit the institute that she attended. So a lot of questions about open access and challenges that we are already aware of. We have already seen questions about those. And of course, to answer these questions, there have to be innovations in publishing process as well, the business models as well. And one of those is introduced here by Curious Journals. So just to give you a background, Curious Inc. was a technology startup founded in US back in 2007. And since 2009, they have a medical science journal, Curious Journal of Medical Sciences, that has grown exponentially in last few years. In 2022, Springer Nature acquired this company along with its platform and the business model. And now Springer Nature is planning to or has already started expanding into other areas other than medical sciences using Curious business model and the platform. So the vision at Curious Journals is to have to broaden the landscape of open access publishing and emphasizing three things. First is efficiency, second is cost effectiveness, and third is superior user experience while publishing in open access. Various missions to achieve this vision, we are looking at a portfolio of journals that will encompass broad scope categories. Right now, we have already launched 3 journals in 2024, and we plan to expand offerings to a total of 11 journals or 11 disciplines in next 2 years. We are committed to delivering expedited turnaround times. So this is done based due to the platform design that we have, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then foster the ecosystem that facilitates knowledge sharing, supports researcher progress, and benefits the society at large, being open access series. So we have already talked about the various challenges, and the most important is, as mentioned, APCs. Second is the submission to publication delays, and this is not just for open access, but any journals. And lastly, complex user interfaces. So what is it that the curious journals are offering in order to address some of these challenges? So the first thing is enhanced accessibility. These are fully open access journals. There is no need of signing in to the platform to read the articles. So anybody can go and read the article on the web page. So it can reach a wider audience, a wider readership, and that will automatically help in boosting your visibility and outreach. Second, the most important is affordability. So in this case, in Curious, we do not charge a fixed amount as APCs. So in most of the open access journals, you get like $1,000 to a few $1,000s of APCs, which is fixed for each article. Instead of APCs, what we do charge is editing fee. And this editing fee will depend on how much editing your article needs. If an article is written flawlessly in terms of language, in terms of formatting, and the requirements set forth by the journal, then it can be published for free at any time. For others that need editing, there will be a charge based on how much editing effort goes into that article. And there is a calculator on the website itself that will give you a rough idea about what that amount would be. So that's, if you look at the medical science journal, which is in existence for quite some time now, their average APCs are $350, which are 1/3 of the lowest APCs out there right now. And this is average number. It can vary from, say, $100 to $700, $800, depending on how much editing is required. The second point, reduced turnaround times. So from submission to publication, our aim is to complete the entire process in 60 days. And of course, one of the major hurdles in this is the peer review time that it takes. We are not pushing the peer reviewers to complete in 2 days or 3 days. What we are doing is the platform that we have is taking care of a lot of administrative or bureaucratic work that an editor needs to do in order to identify peer reviewers, invite them, follow up with them, and make sure that they submit within time. So that work is done by the platform, and editor can spend their time on their intellectual inputs on the peer review and the manuscript. So based on that, this is the intention that we want to complete it within 60 days. The third one, user-friendly interface. So the interface that we have is unique. In many of the journals, you just upload a PDF file or a LaTeX file or a Word file, and the journal will take care of it. However, for Curious, we have a defined step-by-step submission process where you can copy and paste individual sections of your manuscript. The platform will take care of putting it in a proper format at the end of submission. Lastly, the transparent process. You will have visibility of your manuscript at each stage, where it is, how long it is taking. So it is completely transparent process from submission to publication all the way through. So these are some of the numbers or highlights from the medical science journal. Now remember that this journal has been in existence for quite some time. Their acceptance rate is 51%, and their turnaround time is 33 days on average. Now that's something we would like to reach at some point, not initially. And right now, as I mentioned, we want to complete, or we are aiming to complete the submission to publication process within 60 days. As I mentioned, we have already launched 3 journals this year. The Curious Journal of Engineering was launched in March 2024. Curious Journal of Computer Science was launched in July 2024. And recently, on 1st of October, during this research tour, we launched the 3rd journal, that is Curious Journal of Business and Economics. So if you look at the topics or the scope of these journals, these are very broad scope journals. And we are hoping, we are encouraging interdisciplinary research to be submitted to these journals. So we welcome across the fields or across the disciplines people to collaborate and come up with better solutions for the existing problems. So these are the 3 journals that are out there which are open for submission right now. I would encourage you to take a look at the curiousjournals.com website and explore these journals as they are right now. Here is a publishing process. Looks like a lot of steps, but believe me, this is much more streamlined than many of the other journal publishing processes. After the initial submission, it goes to the in-house editors who would take a look at the scope alignment, integrity checks, and overall fit of the article to the journal. And they would decide whether it should be sent to peer review or should it be desk rejected. They will also decide whether it qualifies for free publication or should it be referred to the paid editing process. Once that is done, the author is informed about the paid amount that they need to pay, and once they pay it, it goes for peer review. After peer review, it goes as and when the peer reviewer adds the comments, it will be visible for the authors in their profile, in their dashboard, and they can start working on those comments or suggestions. The requirement for peer review is there has to be at least 2 completed peer reviewers by curious invited reviewers. The peer review matching process is based on keyword matching, and the platform itself will take care of that matching and invitation of sending invitation to the peer reviewers. Once those 2 peer reviewers are completed from curious invited reviewers, the editor will get the comments, the responses together, will take a look at the peer review comments, see if those are critical, if those are adding value, and then what are the responses or the changes that are made by the author, and then decide whether it should be accepted or rejected. And after they decide, it goes to copy editing and then finally the publishing. Now we follow continuous publication process. So as soon as the journal has come or the article has completed copy editing, it will be immediately available online for the readers to read. So there is no need to wait for volume to come out, etc. Of course, another important part of the entire process is to maintain the quality of submissions. These journals, curious journals, are meant to be inclusive journals. We are focusing on credible science, credible research. Of course, novelty is most welcome, but that should not be the sole criteria. And we want to have this platform available for early career researchers, PhD scholars, or people who may be doing routine work, who may be doing incremental work. It may not be very high impact, because remember, impact usually comes through multiple increments. It's very rare that a single study would revolutionize the entire field at once, right? So the incremental science, incremental research is important as well. So we welcome those as well. So in terms of quality, we have different roles. We have the in-house associate editors who would look at the scope alignment, integrity, the quality, writing quality and formatting, and they will decide whether it should be free or paid publishing. Peer reviews, these are the volunteers, experts in their field. They are looking at the credibility, rigor, and the accuracy of manuscript. The third, associate editors, these are the community-based experts with good experience and repute. They are the ones who are deciding whether to accept the manuscript or to reject. After that, the copy editor would take a look at the language and formatting issues with the manuscript. And finally, the executive publishers who are taking care of the entire end-to-end process, make sure that the manuscripts goes through all the processes in timely manner. So those are the checks and balances that we have in place. And as I mentioned, the innovative way of working, I would encourage you to explore yourself, and feel free to reach out to me after this event, or maybe in future through email or phone calls as well. Do we have time for questions? Mm-hmm. So if it's the topics that were listed for each journal, those are the scope. But within the scope, yes, we can, we have the provision to have special issues, or in future we'll have collections as well. Okay. Thank you so much, and I will be available for any specific questions that you may have after the event. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful session. As we look to shape the future of academic publishing, it is crucial that we prioritize diversity within our editorial boards of journals. A diverse board brings together a broad spectrum of perspectives, enriching the decision-making process and ensuring that research from all corners of the world is represented fairly. I would now like to invite Mr. M. Ramanathan to take the stage and share his valuable insights on this subject.
Good afternoon. Until I hear back a good afternoon, I'll wait for the session to start. Great. So how many faculties are here? Great. Select few. Okay. How many of you are in editorial boards? Of it? Few. And how many wants to be part of Springer Nature editorial boards? Like premium journals like Nature? Many. Great. The session is for you. This my colleagues have just covered, so we'll move from here. So when we started India Research Tour 2024, one of the key goals which we wanted to drive is editorial board member recruitment across Springer Nature journals. So we are hiring editorial board members across all 4 journals. Premium, broad, performance, and specialized. These are the categories we have. In premium, we have Nature. In broad, we have BMCCD scientific reports. And in performance, we have Discover, Curious. In specialized, we have Springer Portfolio. Before I start, I'd like to understand, let's have this question with you. Like, what would be the percentage of Indian researchers' representation in editorial reputed journals? Any numbers? Like, less. What percentage it might be? Yeah, you're more or less close. It's 4.8% of Indian. So to bridge that gap, we want to increase. So that's why this session is for you. And any idea between male and female ratio there as well? An editor, editor-in-chiefs, specific. No, it's much better. It's 85 and 15. 85% of male, and it's only 15% of the female representation there. At Springer Nature, DEI is core at our heart, so we want more female participation across whatever we do, even it goes with journal editorial board members as well. As I told you, the lack of diversity among journals editors, especially among editor-in-chief, and remains global underrepresentation of non-Western and women editors impacting the equitable publishing opportunity. And India plays a key role in submission to Springer Nature, and it's the third largest producer of research. If you look at China and US, they are having the highest number of output. And similarly, you'll be able to see the numbers as well. The representation of editorial board members is also higher in those regions. So if we have more editorial representation, because you'll also play a key role in terms of accepting and rejecting the manuscript. So that will also improve our representation globally. This is Springer Nature EBMs, editorial board members and editor-in-chiefs like representation. If you look at South Asia, including India, representation is only 3%, whereas Europe and Central Asia is at 38% in editors and EIC is at 47%. These are the top 10 countries contributing to EICs and editors. In editors, US is at 22, China is at 11, India is still at 3. Similarly, in editor-in-chief, US 23, China is at 9, and India is still at 3% overall. So we want to bridge this gap, so that's why this session is for you. Once at the end of it, I'll let you know how do you apply for it and what kind of criteria we are looking at. Globally, women make up to 29% of editors and 22% of EICs, so it may vary based on the countries and disciplines. So I told you 85% editor-in-chief in India are men and only 15% are women. And compared to other countries, we are at par with France, that 15% is better than Japan, is at 8%, but still less than China and Australia is at 37% and 26%. Why join an editorial board? So you'll be influencing the field, you will have networking opportunity, you'll be having professional network by connecting with prominent researchers across the globe, and professional development where you'll be enhancing your skills and recognition. You'll be gaining recognition in your community as a key contributor to the reputed journals. So join us in shaping future of research. So we are looking for your expertise across all disciplines: medical science, life sciences, engineering, computer science, physical science, and humanities. Across all journals and across all portfolios, we are looking for your editorial expertise. And Springer Nature offers two types of editorial board roles. One is at advisory board members, other one is manuscript handling editors. As an advisory board member, you'll be a key opinion leader and you'll be onboarded for unique needs of the journal. As a manuscript handling editor, you'll be a subject matter expert where you'll be playing a key decision making in acceptance and rejection. As an advisory EBM, you'll be a front runner on open access where we'll be leveraging influence, the championing of importance of open access in your community, and promotion and outreach where you'll be collaborating with our publishing team to enhance the journal's visibility, adaptation and innovation, where you'll be utilizing your expertise to keep us informed on scholarly publishing, and we'll also be taking your guidance and feedback on the authors and reviewers as well. Manuscript handling editors, you're expected to handle 2 to 4 manuscripts in a month, roughly based on the journal, and also decision making of handling those manuscripts, and providing training and guidance on editorial workflows, which will be supported by our journal teams. These are the candidate vetting criteria. We look at RIG, research integrity check, and also Google searches for any misconduct issues. And we consider across all geographies and gender inclusivity. As I see more women participants here, please, you may sign up for this and see your. And journal field mapping will be done as per the portfolio requirements. And we look at consistent publishing for the last 5 years with a good H index. So this is for you. You may scan the QR code and apply for it. You may share it with your colleagues in your campus and share it with other campuses of VIT as well, where you can submit your application and you're expected to hear us back within 2 to 3 weeks. And if selected, we'll contact you to discuss further. It's across all journal portfolios and across all disciplines. Having any questions I can take. I'll also share this with your Dean Research and he'll further cascade it down to all your faculties. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this enlightening session. As we move forward to the next exciting part of today's program, we are about to dive into an engaging panel discussion on transformative agreement, redefining research publishing, the impact of transformative agreements on access of equity. Moderating this discussion will be Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, guiding us through a dynamic exchange of ideas. I would like to invite our panelists on the dais. Mr. Arul, Dean, Academic Research, VIT, Dr. C. Shanti, Director, Library, and Dr. George Inglis, Senior Editor, Nature Portfolio, Springer Nature, New York. Just give us a few moments so we can arrange the dais.
As a token of appreciation, I'd like to welcome Mr. M. Ramanathan, Assistant General Manager, to receive the honor.
I would like to invite our panelists, Dr. P. Arul Mozivarman, Dean, Academic Research, VIT, Dr. C. Shanti, Director, Library, Dr. George Inglis, Senior Editor, Nature Portfolio, Springer Nature, New York. Moderating this discussion will be Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, Managing Director, Springer Nature.
Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity for me to be the moderator of the panel discussion on transformative agreements, redefining research publishing, the impact of transformative agreements on access and equity. So, in interest of the audience, I just want to also call out our panelists. Dr. Arul from the Dean Academic Research, VIT. Thank you, sir, for being with us on the panel. Dr. C. Shanti, the Director, Library. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us. And we also have George, who is from our Nature Portfolio, joining all the way from New York office of Springer Nature here. So, in this panel, we would love to touch upon key aspects on open access, how the world is changing, how things are transforming. And from an open access point of view, we'll also discuss about opportunities and challenges, especially from an Indian ecosystem. We'll also want to cover on research integrity, especially in a system where India is world's third largest in scientific research output, how research can further be improved from a quality perspective, and how do we tackle the challenge of predatory journals, and also finally touching upon the important aspect of transformative agreement, and how in a country like India, especially at an India level or institutional level, at an individual institution level, how transformative agreements can really help transform the research landscape, both from an equity and access point of view. So with this, I would love to start with George, you, and then of course move towards the other panelists taking their views. you've been in the forefront of transformation. You're seeing how transformation is happening globally. And on the transformative agreement side, what are your views, especially if you look into US, you look into Germany, you look into some of the European countries and China? We are seeing transformative agreements playing a vital or important role in overall driving access and equity. What are your viewpoints? And also, can you just help define that little bit to our audience, your thoughts and views on transformative agreements?
So, I hate to give a disappointing answer to start off the panel. I have to admit, I'm not personally familiar with the mechanics behind establishing transformative agreements. But for authors that I've interacted with, where their institutions have kind of engaged in these, so in the US, there tend to be kind of chains of universities that will have transformative agreements, like the University of California system, for instance, like UCSF, UC Riverside, et cetera. I know that they have a transformative agreement with Springer Nature, and I think authors who can benefit from these agreements, and where essentially, if they publish in a list of open access journals, they don't personally pay the APC because their institution has kind of negotiated a contract where we will pay this flat fee with the expectation that our authors could publish a certain number of publications within whatever the time frame of it is. So I think authors that I've interacted with enjoy this because it frees them from having to make the mental calculus of how much they would have to spend on publication costs. And I think it also frees them to kind of consider open access a bit more in terms of going to a subscription model journal, where they have a bit more leeway in terms of which journals they could submit to and publish their work in.
Yeah, we can pass it out, that's better, rather than switching. So just to give you an, how many of you know, anybody knows transformative agreements? Yes, maybe. Yeah, we'll hear your thoughts before we open the panel so that everybody is clear. Maybe you and also, Vinod, you can also touch upon transformative agreements, a little bit from the audience to make it more interactive, yes. And then we'll come back, yeah. So can we have one mic? Yeah, thank you. Can you also introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Ashwani Kumar, Professor of Computer Science Engineering and Information Systems.
Lovely.
It's a transformative agreement is a wonderful initiative. When initially the APCs were introduced, we were at a dilemma, being an author and also a researcher who contributes to the science still has to, burn his pockets, which is a little burden on the authors. So bringing the transformative agreement, in fact, gives that freedom to the authors and as well as the researchers so that they can focus on their actual research. And when the institute has an agreement, and certainly that nullifies several other issues that are there behind this, the payment systems and then processing charges. And also we can avoid the predatory journals getting into the trap of predatory journals. So it's a very good initiative by the transformative agreement. And as you rightly mentioned, we have seen the other institutes in, the western side, the UCLA or UCB and all that they have done. So it's a very good initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate. Vinod, if you can throw some thoughts on transformative agreements and how it helps, the institutions or colleges or universities towards better access and equity.
Yeah. So first of all, let me introduce myself. And I'm Vinod. I'm part of Springer Nature institutional sales team. I've been working closely with VIT Library for various things. In fact, VIT is one institution where they subscribe all the Springer journals, all the hybrid journals, I would say. In fact, certainly, yes, transformative agreements is one of the biggest initiative from the publisher side as well as from the institution side. In fact, it will certainly help the institutions to increase more research outputs and also the publication outputs and everything. And in fact, we have seen a lot of success from the various other institutions as well. In fact, before the transformative agreements, in fact, they were publishing less number of articles, I would say, but after implementing the transformative agreements model, the output in research output and publication output is drastically increased, over the period of years. And we have seen a lot of success from the various institutions, and VIT is actually taking a step towards the transformative agreements, and I wish, it would lead to the very good things.
Sure. Yes, you also wanted to share your thoughts? Yes.
So I think this model helps us instead of going with subscription-based publications. Let us publish and the users get free access in reading our articles, and it increases our citations.
Yeah. So, many people touched upon different aspects of transformative agreement. For benefit of you, just to give you an idea, because then it would be more meaningful for you to understand the conversations around it. So currently, the world is going through a change on the model of publishing. Earlier it was subscription based journals, and wherein the author need not pay anything. He just need to write an article and submit it to one of the leading journals, whichever he chooses, depending on the impact factor, depending on the type of journal. And then of course it gets published. So who is paying for it? The libraries. Libraries which actually have the subscription model actually pay to get those articles so that their relevant students can actually use it. So even now in your college, the librarian actually has an option to subscribe to some of the journals and pay for those journals, subscribe to ebooks, pay for those books. In the worldwide scenario, in Europe, in US and China, open access model is predominantly taking up the center stage. Maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years, most of the leading journals, whether it's ours or even other competition journals, some of them will, or most of them might move towards open access. If they move into open access, that means it attracts an APC charge, article processing charge, which you need to pay. And that charge may be different for different journals. It could be $2,000, $3,000, which is predominantly very high amount of fee. So currently, Indian government doesn't have an open access policy or a framework. In absence of this, there are a lot of researchers who reach out to us from prominent institutions, from IITs, IIMs, and many medical schools, who want to publish in a specific journal of an impact factor because of their work aligning with the journal. Since it's an open access, they have to pay that money. Unfortunately, there's no funding which is available to publish research. They are facing problems and they are paying money from their own pockets. So anybody who published in open access in this room? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, 6. All of them who published, and 7. So all of them who published will understand the pain of this. Either you need to get waivers. Waivers are temporary things. It's like maybe we waive off certain percentage of the fee once, twice, but again, it's not a permanent solution to depend on. In those kind of situations, transformative agreements come as a very blessing to that ecosystem. Because as somebody said, researchers should focus on research, not worry about APCs or not worry about how will I get this funding, how will I publish, where will the funds be. So the enabling research, transformative agreements can be made at a country level, at a library level, at an institutional level, wherein you're already having subscription. Some of the subscription value of what you're paying is repurposed towards publishing in open access. That means if your university gets into a transformative agreement with Springer Nature, because of a size of what you are with close to 5,000 PhD students, I think more number of students enrolled than even IIT Chennai, which has one of the leading research institutions, and also more than 5,000 papers in some of the leading journals, quality journals in Q1 and Q2. So the opportunity for you is in the coming 5 years to 10 years is to publish more in open access because of the choice of the authors for better discoverability, better citations, and they want to be in open access. depending on your funders also who want your papers to be in an open access mode. Given all those scenarios, a transformative agreement will actually ease your problem. That means if you have the transformative agreement with us, any researcher, any professor can publish in any of our journals, and he need not worry about the APCs, because a agreement will be built between Springer Nature and the institution, and under that transformative agreement, they all will be covered to publish. So that's a great opportunity. So this discussion is about touching transformative agreements and understanding transformative agreement benefits. So this is what I wanted to narrate, so that researchers can focus on research. And if you are not worried about publishing and the price points and everything are formed into an agreement with Springer Nature, as a researcher you focus there. And also that will save you from publishing in predatory journals, as somebody touched. You need not worry about the predatory journals which of lower quality, and retractions happen and entire your research career comes to an end. If you are found in some of these so-called paper mills or predatory journals. In the current situation in India, we see that tremendously growing up on exploratory mode because of lack of policies. That's the background. Now I want to touch upon you, Dr. Arul. You've been the dean, you understand the research requirements of this institution. How do you see and where's your journey towards the transformative agreement in making sure you're empowering the researchers in the ecosystem to do quality research without any challenges? And how do you see transformative agreement really helping you?
Thank you, Venkatesh. Set the tone for today's discussion. In fact, the government has been talking about right from the 10 to 15 years back, the scientific advisors, they keep addressing about the one nation and the one subscription models for all the higher education institutes. So government should come forward and take the initiative. Unfortunately, that is still on the paper and not on the reality. So the most important thing is during our days of the research activity, whatever the paper we need to refer, so everything behind the paywall, okay? And we have to pay the subscription for the particular journal, and then only we can access it. Or otherwise we have to approach IIT Madras and the librarians, and then we get the support to even read the article, okay? The main purpose is the knowledge dissemination, and whatever the scientific research work, it is all the taxers' money. And if the people want to read the article, why they have to be behind the paywall? So the question here is, the people has to be empowered, and the researcher has to be empowered, and they should get the access for all the articles. So then only the research will come out in a nice way by referring for all the papers. Okay, so with this, the idea only all the publishing agents, they have started moving on towards the open access and the open science concept, and then they moved with the fully open access agreement level of the process. Now there is another option for reading the article, we are already paying for under the subscription model. Why don't we segregate some part of the money where under the subscription thing can be reutilized for even for the publication process through the transformative level of the agreement. So it means that we can read as well as publish with the certain set of the journals where the institute is predominantly focusing on those areas. When we looked at the VIT research publication data for the last 5 years, our focus more on the Q1 and Q2 publications. So in fact, the last 5 years of the research publications, as Venkatesh has rightly pointed out, we published more than 5,000 plus journals. Out of that, now 70% are only in the Q1 and Q2. Okay, so our target is moving towards 100% in the open access and also for the Q1 and Q2 publications. So this is the focus in which what we are looking is moving from the subscription and the transformative level of the thing where readers are empowered both the reading as well as the publishing, where the institute will take care of the process. So they can only focus on the scientific level of the process, not on the publication process. That is the whole idea begins for the transformative agreement. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. And moving on further to hear from the librarian, and because she is in the middle of so much of transformation at an India level, at a state level, even internationally, she would be following very actively what's happening on the open access, because you play a very important role making sure that the knowledge, access and equity is built in this ecosystem. And with a large university like VIT, how are you managing that, and what are your thoughts on transformative agreement and the benefits it has for your researchers?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. This all starts with how research is today, because the earlier research was people who had passion took up research, but now it's like any profession you want to take, now we need some research to be done. So when research comes into picture, first thing is you have to access journals, and then at the end you publish. It goes like that. So when you start with accessing, of course, our institute started with subscribing, and when we do that, we look at the quality of the journals, so we subscribe for that. And we also look at how our people can take up some publications, so depending on the quality also. So now what happened is we started buying, but we did not have the profit of publishing in that. So with this transformative agreement, we get some advantage. So our people are able to, with the subscription charges, so we get a concession in publishing also. So that is an advantage for our researchers, and our research number of researchers are again increasing here. It started with the reading, and now we have gone into publishing. So this one is definitely advantageous for us, transformative.
Perfect. Thank you so much. In interest of the audience, I would now love to open the floor for audience, any researchers, professors, anything around open access, anything around transformative agreement. We would love to, interact with you, take your thoughts, suggestions, and also any questions.
Any open-ended questions? Anything?
Yes, sir. It's a basic question. Actually, why we have to pay open access? Like, why article processing charges are very high?
Yeah. So I'll take that question, and then of course you all can share your thoughts. But mostly centric around the APCs being very high, and why APC should be charged. So, as I said, the answer lies in the understanding of the model. For hundreds of years, we were in a model which is subscription driven. That means as an author, you did not pay any processing charge, and it is in the benefit of the authors from financially making a cost available, price available, and you need to pay the price. But at the same time, your article was not freely available to everyone. It had a limitation of availability. Only select few libraries who have access and who are accessing a journal in which your article is there, was visible. The article was visible to select few people. So as an author, when you write or when you are working on a research and you want to publish your research, one of your core aim is that it should reach millions of people, so that your work is recognized and your work is also valued, and somebody else in the system can benefit from your work. So that is measured in terms of citations, discoverability, policy mentions of your article and all. When you have limited access and only few people can actually do, it is accessible only across certain ecosystems and not freely available to the larger community. Your article being available larger community, not only I mentioned your benefits, but also it benefits many other researchers worldwide. Somebody is working, for example, you're working on stem cells, somebody in Europe is working or Africa is working. He can pick your work as a base, reconstruct that and help. So science feeds on science, and science helps grow science across the boundaries. So, open access is more about democratizing the access of articles to, universally available. Anybody can download from anywhere without any cost. Now, since Organizations which are publishing this research also invest a lot in building workflows, automating workflows. We have employees to manage and take care of. And all the publishing companies are for-profit working companies. They work on, primarily a business model, either paid by librarians and for accessing it, or libraries buy that. Or if that is available universally, tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years down the line, if everything in India is on open access, your library need not spend those millions of dollars in getting those journals and books, either by Springer or even by other companies. Everything is freely available. So somebody has to pay a cost for the business to continue, So that cost comes from, for example, the leading funding organizations globally, whether it's Wellcome Trust or SDG-centric funding, or funding coming from organizations like Bill Gates Foundation, or even Government of India, taxpayers' money in US. They all want, when they are funding research, they want that research to be available to everyone for a better purpose. So keeping that in mind, the worldwide workflows have changed into an APC model. That means still librarian will play a major role. Your governing body will allocate certain amount of funds. It could be 5%, 10% of whatever your overall funding is. That fund will go to library. Since everything is available for free, then librarian actually divides that funding across all the departments and further to researchers to publish. And researchers pay a small amount of money, but in India, $2,000 or $1,000 is not a small amount of money.
Yeah,
it's a huge amount of money, APCs, right? So globally, depending on the GDP and per capita income, the Indian ecosystem, $1,000 or $2,000 is a heavy amount of money. Not everybody can pay. That's where...
Sorry to interrupt. I request the research scholars, we are addressing only for you people. So another 5 to 10 minutes, it's beneficial for you people, okay? We understand. We are standing between your lunch and the discussion thing, okay? So just bear us for the another 5 minutes, okay? So,
sure, thank you. So coming back to the point, Indian point of view, APCs are higher, which we understand as publishers. But as a country, if we look into having an open access policy or a framework, government establishes a framework or a policy, invites the publishers as well as others, academicians, to discuss what is a better APC or a regional APC model is. I think that's where eventually we all will go. And also companies are now working, especially Springer Nature is heavily invested in technology. We are leveraging technology, our Gen AI interfaces, and Parag has just presented about Curious, wherein in Curious there is zero APC. If you need editorial processing, of course you need to pay a small amount, that's around $100, $200, which is affordable by the Indian audience. We are trying to do as much as possible to enable, but an OA policy at a government level and discussion can certainly bring down the challenges what are there in open access ecosystem.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
As
you.
a researcher, even I feel right now to go for open access, little bit
I know it is a challenge across many
I
researchers.
go for open access. Now I'm forced. I
Absolutely.
Know how to increase it.
Yes.
So in that
But however, in the temporary context, we are also helping a lot of researchers like you and authors, existing authors, with discounts and waivers on APCs. You'll be happy to, in fact, till last month and even now, there are schemes wherein you are eligible for applying through a link, and then of course you can get up to 75% waiver in APCs, which really helps a lot of Indian researchers. I don't know about others, but Springer Nature does value the needs and understand the challenges, and we've been doing this. And if you need more information, my team can help you with the link where to go and apply for that, and so that your research is not limited and you don't go through challenges.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You want to say something?
I think also one last point I want to tack on is that publishers do realize that, I think the point was made earlier about kind of waivers are only a temporary solution. So we are trying to think about the sustainability of APC pricing as well. So at least within our BMC series of journals, there's a pilot going on about having kind of tiered pricing for authors based on certain geographical regions and based on kind of what funds are available to those researchers for publication. So it's a pilot program, it's kind of testing the waters, but it is something that we and other publishers are keeping in mind as we move forward.
To just add upon, our Honorable Chancellor already pointed out today morning also, the government's spending on the GDP for the higher education, especially for the research, need to be increased. Still, even after the recommendation of the last 60 years, we have not even touched upon 6% of our GDP on the higher education, especially on the research. One thing I would like to clear to all the audience here is we have done a lot of the study on how our research papers are viewed by the general public and also for the various people. How many of them are just only viewed? They could not download our publications. And in fact, how many of our article in the policy level of the decision documents, how many of our documents referred by the industry for the patentable level of the technology transfer, how many of our documents are viewed for the city planning and also for the sustainability level of the thing. When you look at that, the percentage is very, very minimal, okay? So the only thing is we have to make our research work is visible to the entire world. Then only we can establish as a collaboration and also the networking, whether it is the city planning or the government take initiation where the experts are available in VIT, we have to utilize, and whatever the policy making level of the decision, how the government can take that. In fact, we were surprised. One of the cyber security paper has been referred by the US government. Okay, so it means there are 64 such documents we have looked at where the VIT document has been referred by the various governments for the policy decisions. So these are all the key factors for bringing into the nation into the forerunners. So the country like Japan, South Africa, even Egypt, they incorporated the fully open access agreement. So we have been right from the beginning in this subscription mode, okay? And we have to slowly move to the like the European model for the fully open access level of the movement. Then only the research will be known to the outside world, and everybody will get benefit out of that. Okay, so that is the major focus towards the transformative agreement as well as the fully open access agreement. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah, so his question is,
major publications are in the Q1 and Q2. In fact, there are certain journals, depending on the subject domain, it may list as a Q1 or the Q3. Because say, for example, when we talk about the battery technology, so the material science people get into the Q1, or some other chemistry, they may get into the Q3. So the same journal may be listed out either Q1 or the Q3. So that is where the differences are there. So that we will take care of that.
Talking about microsystem technologies, one of the Springer Nature journals, the domain in which I am working, the citations and the quality journals papers are very less in the domain.
Which domain you are in?
Microsystem technologies.
Okay. Okay.
That is one of the technologies. Microsystem technologies is working on that particular sensors and those kind of things and other things also.
Yeah.
So in
so every domain has its own what you call dimensions on number of papers and citations. For example, metallurgy to engineering to computer science, depending on the domain. So it's not a constant thing across domain, but
I understand your observation. Yeah.
No, it's a very good observation from your end. In fact, that is an opportunity for you to publish. Okay, so you have to work on and then convince the entire world to look at the paper.
Sir, but we need to find out the people who are working in at top level in those areas. So basically, if they are like not at that level, then we need to find out and then working out accordingly. Like.
No,
so your question is primarily the availability of talent worldwide who's working in the specific area is less, hence the papers are less, hence the other things are. That's why I said, for example, if it is computer science, if it is metallurgy, it's chemical, or it's very nanotechnology, depending on, the domain, the technology, it varies, Of course, yes, that also gives you an opportunity to collaborate with people across many countries. You need not just be focused on India. You can actually identify some researcher working in US, UK, China, anywhere in this world, and also look out for. But these dimensions are different for different countries. Maybe George, you also want to add something? Parag, you want to say something? His field is a small field. Yeah.
Even though it is a small field.
You can take the mic and we can address it. Yeah.
See, you're saying that your field is a small field, right?
Yes,
So
narrow.
Q1, Q2, whatever in your field which is highest will be rated as Q1 and Q2.
Okay,
so it's all like that. So I probably are not going into and choosing journals from Q1 and Q2. It is area-wise only, right? Specialty-wise, it is Q1, Q2. See, in some of the journals in biology and chemistry, very good journals also will be in Q3 because these are all major areas. If you are in a small domain, it is much easier.
Narrow domain, yeah.
It is much easier. Definitely you will have Q1, Q2 there also.
Okay.
Without Q1, Q2, you will not have Q3.
Okay.
Getting it?
Thank you.
I'm just going to reiterate what mentioned earlier. You have to have a strategy for your publications as well, your own personal strategy. So initially, if your field is smaller and there are not too many people, it's an opportunity for you to shine. But maybe initially you work with or you submit your research to a allied field journal or application-oriented journal, make yourself known, and then you submit to the subject-specific journals and then take it from there. So it's not just the institutional level strategy, it's personal publication strategy also, which will play an important role for individuals.
I think this is a good question as what Parag said, at an individual level, you define your own strategy in terms of how do you want to publish and grow in that ecosystem. But however, one of the things which we can do in addressing this question further is also sometimes conduct a session by some of our commissioning editors, especially from the journals team, who can actually educate some of the researchers how to choose journals. A lot of students and researchers, they do a lot of mistakes in choosing a journal, right? Why a journal should be selected, basis his work, what journals are available, where to publish, and these are some of the best practices to publish. We can conduct a workshop online or offline so that it can benefit many students or researchers like him. Any other question? Yes.
That journal, Environmental Science and Pollution Research, its print is on hold now, and it is showing like impact factor was 5.8 till July. Now it is showing as 0. So it badly affected my research. So I just want to ask what is the status on that, and can you make some comment? Will it be overcome, and how can we get confidence in Springer? It is a very big group. But if such things happen suddenly, then how can we get confidence?
Okay, on that specific, because we have 3,200 journals, what you specifically asked, I need to go back and check the details, what exactly it is, right? So why an impact factor 5.5 is showing 0? First of all, your interpretation of this is right, or are there any gaps? That also we need to check. Maybe I'll get back to your team specific to this. If you can give us that details, if to your librarian, we can certainly get back to you on this piece of journal. So your paper is published, yet to publish, or in the process?
When I published, when I submitted it, impact factor was 5.8. I submitted a letter to Dean Office also, Dean Research Office. So it is still under discussion.
Sure.
That it will be considered or not for my PhD.
Fine. If you can give me the details, we can check and get back to you.
No, to get it right, the journal is put on hold. Are they changing the name of the many of the time it happens?
No.
Because see, until 1 year it will appear under one name. After that it changes. Okay. So if that is the issue, I don't think so.
No, ma'am.
Is the
issue is one of the means in Web of Science it is mentioned it has been put on hold because there is some misconduct by one of the co-editors. So it has been put on hold. The journal name is
but something will come out. It will not.
So if it's Web of Science is put on hold, that means they would be having a corresponding situation with the relevant people to identify the areas of issues, and there will certainly be a solution to that will be available. So that doesn't mean that your work is devalued. So Web of Science would have seen some observations, basis that observations they seek information, and that information once provided they actually get back with an answer on their observations and where is it in the process. But however, you can submit, you have already given it to the Dean. I will take it from the Dean. Otherwise, you can give the details to me or to my team members. Sure. We will check with the respective teams and we'll get back to you.
Thank you so much.
But observations by Web of Science or Scopus or anything, it's a normal common process in the publishing industry. In fact, presence of this process is also an indication that the system is working well. So because retractions happening and and some activities under observations also is a system that has been built and the system is working. However, I'll get back to you, especially specific to your journal. I'll get back to you with the details to your team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you please share the information by mail. Okay, this is a usual procedure for the, as Venkatesh has pointed out. There are 26 quality parameters checked by the Web of Science. Every month, the special editorial team look at all the criterias. If there is any lack, then they will rightly point out to the concerned chief editor, and then they will pay attention. So if there is a mistake from the associate editors or the peer review process or any malfunctions, so they will immediately point it out. Okay. In fact, you can check whether they consistently exist for the last 5 years in the indexing thing. Then definitely that is a good journal. They are there.
Sir, yes. I have a question. Like, while we are searching for journals in Springer, like we have different other publishers. So when we search for a journal in Springer, it will be like from A to Z, all the list comes. It is not usually like, it can be based on a keyword or it can be based on a domain. Usually when we search for journals on Springer, it will be like all the list will come. So it will be like out of 3,200 finding our journal specificity, and it is like a bit difficult. And I also found like, I'm not sure like how far it is helpful, but still in elsewhere they have an option like they provide free courses on how we can improve the research communication and how our writing can be improved. So based on that, they gave some courses for the scholars. So on the perspective of a scholar, even after VIT providing so much of facilities, we are still finding it somewhere difficult to sort out. We are not knowing what the journal actually is expecting from us. And we are finding it difficult to find the journal properly and to communicate properly. That gap is always there from the research scholar side.
Yeah, I think this is a constant request from many researchers, like you. Especially we have this nature masterclass trainings which help you in a lot simplifying your queries and also addressing that. So if you have attended today session by George, at the end of it, there are information, and if you could scan that QR code, you will land up to some of the nature masterclass which are free of cost. So one of the purpose of this RISE Research Integrity in Science and Education is to educate researchers about resources, tools, techniques, and some best practices. So as I was addressing one student just now, would love to do some workshop free of cost to benefit all your researchers, wherein we'll help you how to select a journal, how to search a journal, challenges in journal, and what is your research area, how it aligns in selecting you the best journal, and also some best practices of writing, research article writing. So we'll love to conduct some which can benefit you. And VIT is a very valued customer of ours. We'll be more than happy to repeat the session also basis the request if you want to have, or in fact do an recording and share with all of you also. That's also possible.
Thank you so much.
We'll help you there. Any other questions? Good. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And some of you, in interest of time, we may have to call an end to this, but the conversation goes on. We are there during the lunch time. If some of you want to meet me or my respective team members, seek any guidance or share any inputs, more than happy. Thank you so much. Thank you all the panelists for joining today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for this engaging panel. I would request Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi to felicitate our panelists.
Yeah. Before we do that, in fact, big round of applause for Riya Sachdeva. She's been a great MC. And more than important, she is an alumni of VIT, Vellore. So she was very excited to be here. And, she is the person behind making this event happen, coordinated with VIT almost for more than a month or so. She's been talking to Dr. Arul and others. And also, this shows your alumni is doing great work across different organizations. So thank you, Riya, for all your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to call Dr. Arul. Dr. C. Shanti. And Dr. George Inglis.
Yeah, as a token of love, we like to honor the entire Springer Nature team to be at VIT. Mr. George English. Ms. Riya Dadra. Mr. Parag. Ms. Riya. Ms. Sanchi. Ms. Abhilasha. Mr. Ramanathan. Ms. Shmiti. Okay. Mr. Jaskrit. Okay. Thank you all. On behalf of Office of Academic Research, I sincerely thank our beloved founder and Chancellor for his presence and motivation. My gratitude towards our Vice Presidents and Assistant Vice President for their constant support. Sincere thanks to all the Springer Nature experts here. Extend thanks to Vice Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor, Register for their encouragement. Special mention to the teams of Purchase, Finance, Event Management, Corporate Communication, and Media Department, CTS, and Hall Management. Thank you all the research scholars for their interest to know more about the Springer Nature's India's Research to 2024. Thank you all.
We request the Springer Nature team and VIT please join for the group photo. Sir, please. Madam, please, please.
Doesn't look good. He's sitting and just standing. I think we'll cover it. Come in the front.
Please, please, please.
All of you come in the front. We can talk. Please, please.
Move the chairs and yeah, no, please. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, please.